see if this here. Meeting is now streaming live on custom live streaming service called Restream. So hopefully this is now live. It looks like it's live on YouTube and Facebook. Day 4 of Intact Radio. Yeah, I'm trying to see here on Facebook and YouTube. This is going to be clunky again of a start for the third day in a row. Trying to figure out how to live stream. And Carter yesterday told me to use Restream, on which I can stream now to Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. So it should be now doing that. Unfortunately, the Restream app itself wasn't worked. Hey, Forrest Complete says hello. Hey, Forrest, how's it going? And hopefully there should be a link where you can join this if this worked right. There's a Zoom meeting. If you want to call in, please do. I would love to. I mean, that's kind of the point of this. Like, if you want to talk about intactivism, then call in. Yeah, I kind of just want to like vent right now because Restream is so frustrating. It's great. It all seemed great until I go to the place where I stream, and then the video just didn't work. It's just like, oh, sorry, there's no video for this. So that's kind of a problem. It kind of defeats the whole point. I mean, I guess audio's good, but I really want there to be video too. So, anyways, I'm just doing Restream through Zoom, so it's an extra step, more complicated and less user friendly. But it looks like it should be going, as far as I can tell. Forrest Complete, I have a question for you. Oh, never mind. I have the answer, I think. You are on YouTube watching this right now, yes? Looks like your comment, you can see it on the Restream app, which I also have open. And David Johnson was just on Facebook wondering if I was going to stream. I know I'm streaming, so if you want to join the conversation, jump right in. Let me know if the link also, if anyone's, whoever's watching this, can you see a link in the description below this video? A link to join the Zoom meeting? Anyone who's watching, can you just comment and let me know that's happening? Sorry, this is being kind of... Hi, Matthias. How's it going? Greetings. Greetings to Germany. From Germany. Happy Gay switched accounts from Foreskin Police. I see you too, Facebook user. On Facebook, apparently I can't see who's posting. That's kind of annoying. Someone on Facebook is posting. Yeah. Day 4 of Intact Radio is me figuring out how to restream. That's the video. Okay, Happy Gay sees the link. Good. So on YouTube, there's a link where you can join the Zoom call. Join the Zoom call if you want. And on Facebook, hopefully there should also be a link where you can join. I'm going to reload Intact Community. Intact Community on Facebook. Unfortunately, right now, I can't afford the more expensive version of Restream where you can... I'm only streaming to Intact Community. I'm not streaming to my personal account because I don't have that much money. It's like an extra $30 to do a fourth or more streams. I could also stream to Twitter. If anyone wants to give me $30, I will stream 30 different places. It'll be great. But right now, we got 3. So you can stream this on Twitter. It's super cool. On Twitter, on which is Periscope. You can stream it on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm doing Facebook and YouTube right now to 2 YouTube accounts, actually. We're talking in German now. We're talking in German. Seems appropriate for an interactivist podcast somehow. Um, sorry, Holocaust jokes are never funny. I didn't mean to go there. It just happens sometimes. I apologize. And now I've offended my German subscribers. No, it's a crazy thing, right? That this whole Germany tried to ban circumcision. It was one of the first countries to do so, and it was so frustrating because they're like, "Hey, this is genital mutilation," and everyone's like, "No, you're bad. Germany, you can't ban genital mutilation." It's like, fuck you, Jesus, no. The Holocaust was bad, but like genital mutilation is actually a validly horrible thing. Gotta like parse out the fact that Judaism isn't they're not the same thing. Anyways, tangent there. Genital mutilation is worse than the Holocaust. So, well, I'm gonna completely just remove myself from that tangent now. I usually don't talk about religious circumcision because it's like because it gets in a rabbit hole that's like not good up. And I was genitally mutilated for medical, quote unquote, by the medical, you know, institution, not bad, but I'm trying to see this on, I can't find this on Facebook. And I see Intact Radio 00004. I'm not seeing it. It should be on here so that I can see people's comments, but I'm not seeing it. Is it on my personal thing? It should be on Tech Community. No, it's not on my personal page. I know someone's watching on. It's there. I just apparently can't see it. Where's my comments? Sorry, this is. Happy Gay said we should make a religion where you don't cut genitals. So then, freedom of religion, you can't cut your kid's foreskin because he could choose to be part of our religion that he. Yes. Yeah, definitely. That should definitely known as done. I mean, that's part of my religion. To be honest with you, it's part of, in like a profound, deep way. I've actually spent most of entrenched in spiritual and metaphysical, philosophical study and practice. Me, the most perhaps fundamental aspect of my religion. So yeah, just have to formalize it a little bit more, but I do see this on Facebook now. It's here. Tom Deshane says, I see you. I see you too. Hey, someone join me on this call if you want. There should be a link to join if you want to join. This is a call-in radio show. I can talk about like whatever I want to talk about. So far, I've been doing a really poor job. We've talked so far about the Holocaust, Judaism, and religion, which are like interesting topics. Not my usual topics, I promise. So sorry, people probably don't get my humor. They're like, who the fuck is this guy? This is the shit talking intactivist radio show, which is Brendan Marotta's phrase. I really need to get him on here. I don't know where he is. I never know where he is though. He's a mysterious man. Probably writing another book in 10 minutes. Takes him like 10 minutes to write a book, literally. If by 10 minutes you mean 10 days. No one's joining me on the stream. Although, oh yeah, there's a link. There's a link on Facebook. So you can join me in this Zoom meeting and we will talk about intactivism related things if you want. I'm thinking I should do like a topic thing and like be like, hey, today's topic of the week is XYZ. I really also want to do a video series on this book, which Brendan wrote in 10 days, which I was just talking about. The Intactivist Guidebook. I'm going to do like a study series where we go through chapter by chapter and like talk about like, oh, how can we put messaging into reaction? How do we better recruit people? How can we organize more effectively? So we read through a chapter and then we kind of discuss like, how can we actually do this for I just realized I've been ignoring my other. This really is a little bit clunky here. Brendan Marotta, BRENDON MAROTTA. Yeah, he has a YouTube channel and every other social media. He made the American Circumcision. Might have heard of him, maybe not. Yeah, I know I already told you, Happy Gay, what you need to do is actually create a formal like structured religion, like write a foreskin Bible or something. Like, I know you worship the male phallus, which is great. I worship clitori and I mean, I guess I worship my own cock. I expect the female who I'm interacting with to worship cock in a very literal sense. I'm not gonna go into certain aspect of that, but that's a great thing. I am in support of sexual religion, tantric. You know, it's essentially what tantra is, actually. If you want, I could join if you want, but I think you and Stein Guy were so much better. Lol. Yeah, join if you want to, for sure. Do it. Steinhoff isn't here today. I don't know if he's gonna join, but we just talked yesterday, so he's got like a actual life. I see the link. I clicked the link to check it out, but left soon after. I don't know if you saw. Oh, no, I like manage multiple things at once. This is not very effective because I have this thing open and then I have Facebook open and then I have and Zoom. I can't have them all open at the same time. So this kind of sucks. I really want Restream to work, but it's not working. I missed your join. It's not obvious on here. And there's a stupid fucking waiting room off because I just want people to be able to join without me having to let them in. I miss that people are joining because it's not obvious enough. So yeah, it's a great book. Yeah, join. Please do join the chat. Sorry I didn't let you in, but I'm looking at the thing now, so I will see it. I have 3 things open. Was that Tom who said he could join? Yeah, Tom. Love to have you on here if you want to join. Apologies, I missed it. But if you join again, I will let you in. So now we wait. I'm a meditator. I can do this for very long. Anyone going to join? Join. Is anyone out there? Hold on. Do I have? I have someone in the waiting room. Okay. I don't know how long you were there, but I didn't actually have it open like I thought I did. This is so not user friendly. Really need to get the other thing working. Okay. We have DENE22KWYXQHUKEAAA ...
Excellent.
I don't know the rest of your name.
It's Tom Deshane.
What's that?
It's Tom Deshane. Can you hear me okay? Or can you see me okay? I'm sorry.
I can. Yes.
Our video might be a little dark.
I can't see anything at all.
No?
Now I can.
Okay, cool.
I can.
Right.
Yes.
I just got back from work.
Blank before, but now it's good.
Cool.
Good enough. Oh, cool.
All right. Yeah, I read the Brandon Murata book. Actually, I have 3 books upstairs that I've kind of taken a break from, but I've read them. Yeah, I've read the Intactivist Guide book. That's a pretty good one. I don't know. I was thinking maybe. Sorry, this is my dog. And, can you hear me all right? You're kind of all right. Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. But yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe I just mentioned that.
It's a little.
What? I thought I'd mention that, like, yeah. Is it delayed? It's a
Maybe
little.
It's okay. I don't know, but you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
It's a little glitch. The internet connection here is not great.
It
I'm
might
moving
be
pretty
my house.
soon. And John, I think, is maybe could be that too. Yeah.
True.
Is anyone else on this stream crowdsourcing the answers to this question? Is anyone else on this stream having problems hearing me at all? Or am I crystal clear?
You're good now.
Because that would be good to know. Well, we'll just continue then. What were you saying? You were you read the book?
Yep. Thought I'd mention that real quick. Also, just to your point, I know you just like in passing while I'm listening in. I feel like just as far as like humor goes and trying to make light of things, like I'm not personally too sensitive to it, but I mean, I don't know, lately I've been thinking about how just as a person, I don't know, people who know me, I'm a gay person, but personally I'm just not like, I don't often get hung up on being called anti-Semitic by being an intactivist because I've had to deal with being raised Catholic and like not buying the whole war on religion, and I'm being like anti-religious by being a gay person. So I haven't had anybody accuse me of being anti-Semitic before, but I'm certainly like not ready to have anybody tell me that I'm being anti-religious by wanting to have bodily autonomy. So I don't know. I've shied away from that point, but sometimes I think it's a valid point to make, even though I know it's kind of like another issue that not everybody's on board with. So I don't want to like divide people, but you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Say again, like, so you think that it's not good to try to kind of bring up the religious aspect because it might divide more people? Is that what the last thing you said?
Me being a gay person, sometimes I don't want to bring up the whole LGBT part because it might split people further. But I can't help but like think that when people are like, oh, if you're an intactivist, you're anti-Semitic. Like they just kind of want to lump you in. That in that regard, I'm completely ready because I'm so used to having that accusation thrown at me by being a gay person. And like I've done that rodeo before, you know? It's like, oh, you're starting a war on religion because you want to have marriage equality or whatever. So it's like, personally, in my mind, I have that, but I
Ah,
don't usually bring that into the conversation because it might divide people further. I'm starting to kind of get over
hmm,
that and think that maybe like the different aspects of myself just allow me to be relatable to different audiences. Hopefully it'll work like that. And I don't know. It's like another discussion that hopefully I can navigate through. But I don't know. I think it
mhm.
might be relevant.
It's interesting. I personally am mostly straight, straightish, and so
I think
I
that's most
uh,
people.
I haven't I haven't had the issue of confronting it from a gay perspective myself, but I could see how when you say it like that, like it makes sense that if um, being gay in a way is sort of an affront to religion, or it's like
Yeah.
just being gay is an affront. So then also um, how saying circumcision is genital mutilation and we shouldn't do it is also similarly an affront. Although,
I mean, it's all about
yeah,
you don't have to be against religion to just want to have your own bodily autonomy and to be attracted to the people you're attracted to and to like get married if you want to and to have the same financial benefits that come with that. That's not me being against
mhm,
religion. That's kind of religion being against me. As I see it, I don't see how I could see it any other way. Like we say all the time, or I don't know any intactivist who is against somebody getting circumcised themselves. It's if you want to have a religious circumcision, if you think that it's cosmetic. I mean, I'm sure any of us would probably advise you not to do it for medical reasons because there are no valid medical reasons, but nobody's going to tell you that you can't. So it's like
right.
the argument's very similar, where it's just like people will be like, "Oh, like you're being against people who," and it's like it's a very lame argument and it's very tired, and it's very familiar to me because it's like nobody's telling you to do anything. They're just telling you not to stand in the way of other people's independence. You know?
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly that whole it's like you're not you're not attacking people's right to uh be religious so much. It's not like I'm trying to take down someone's religion. If I'm talking to someone who's Jewish about it, it's like, well, you're right to, decide his own religion. And furthermore, like bodily autonomy, it's such a violation. Um, to me, it's like, separation of church and state kind of thing. Like you have to protect us from mutilation, from violence, and give them the right to pursue happiness, because this, to me, profoundly interrupts my ability to be happy. And like that should be protected. If I was Jewish, I think I would uh, much more offended by this actually, because it's like, wow, someone else's religion isn't more important than, first of all, my right to be happy and experience my body as I was born,
Yeah.
but also my own religion. You know, isn't that just as important, at least, as someone else's religion?
No, I agree.
So,
I've heard the argument made that not covering the protections of Jewish people is anti-Semitic in and of itself. And I think that people who are Jewish should think about people who are also Jewish and don't want to be circumcised. That's that I think that would be the
mhm,
kinder thing to to think about. It's I don't know. It's hard because talking from the outside, I really think it's going to take somebody who is Jewish or who is religious or to make that change. It's um you know, I think that maybe from where I stand, maybe it helps to put a little bit of pressure on to show that I'm very uncomfortable and affronted at people telling me that they have any claim over my body or, in that way. But, um, I think that there was actually a talk with Brandon Murata and a podcaster. I can't remember her name, but she was Jewish. And it opened my eyes to be more
Yeah.
sympathetic towards that discussion. Like I kind of understood a little bit that it's not anybody else's place to really figure that out for them. But at the same time, I think about it and I'm like, but they really do need to start to figure that out. There needs to be a pressure to say, like, I respect your space to try to figure this one out in your community, but at the same time, like you need to know that you need to figure it out. It's not all right. So hopefully there can be some sort of
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. There needs to be, I think, maybe some sort of space for
Yeah.
Jewish people to have the discussion, but it's like I don't know if it's just one of those things where does it get talked about? Like I would hope so. Um, I don't know, maybe that can be facilitated in some way. But it would be nice to get more of a Jewish perspective, like at the forefront. I know that there are Jewish intactivists 100%, but I don't know, just to see that there's something going on,
Mhm.
would be huge. But I think that was a great step for
Yeah.
Brandon. Brendan, sorry, I think it's Brendan, right? Brendan Murata. Say Brandon.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Brendan, I saw that podcast with him where he talked with the I think she's Instagram person, and she brought that up at the end. And yeah, it's a good point. Is that the one?
Yes,
Does
I
that
think
sound like the
so.
one that you watched?
Yeah,
You
yeah. It
might
was
have
shortly
it on
after his.
YouTube too, but
Yeah, I think you brought up the Intactivist Guidebook. I think that's where I heard of it from in that in that
oh,
discussion.
hmm,
Um, yeah, that book
yeah,
was really good. It laid it down very sequentially, like just he built upon this, and he had a lot of great books for that I wanted to kind of expand, like on a broader level. I wanted to get into trauma relief because I am a little concerned about that
hmm,
part. That that there might be some healing that I could be doing that I'm not recognizing. Uh, but
right.
um, I was hoping to actually. I mean, I ended up gifting the book to someone who's kind of into that same sphere of like self help and
Hmm.
yoga, and so. But I was hoping that actually we could both read it. Maybe I could start a book club or something on one of those related books in Brendan's book list, because I mean I'd like to. I feel like
Hmm.
this topic has really opened my mind to a lot of things even outside of circumcision. It's really helped me understand like different cultures and even geography and like a lot of different things that I'm really glad I picked up the book that I started with. It was David Golaher. I could be mispronouncing that, but the circumcision book was the one I started with. But yeah, I'd like to
Hmm.
check out the book list of that Brendan had, because there was like I don't know, like I think I know so much about circumcision at this point. It'd be nice to find something that was like kind of related but not exactly that. See how that far that takes me.
Hmm.
I don't know, have you seen the book list?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm actually the one who told Brendan to make that. And
Dang.
um, yeah, there's a lot of good things on there. I need to check out a couple of them myself that I've been sitting on for a while, but healing is definitely a huge thing that I actually wrote a book on that I still need to finish editing and put together. It's healing the trauma of it is like, to me, one of the biggest issues that we have in the intactivist movement, because the collective trauma is, I think, really preventing us from doing more in a lot of ways. It's just it's so crushing. It kind of pushes a lot of, because it's just too difficult to confront day after day, and also just creates a lot of sort of and like anger and a
Yeah.
lot of negative, like hopelessness, a lot of negative emotions that make it hard to. So that's something I'm really interested in.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I've met somebody who, like, the first video I saw, I've linked it before, but he had described it as like he could feel that he'd always been screaming in some way inside, and like he recognized it as he got into the topic and he had seen
Mhm.
what was going on. He saw a circumcision video for the first time and how it like affected him, and yeah, it's like it's
Mhm.
just it's so hard to talk about because there's not a space for it. Like even with liberal people, there's so much, like you could hear so much about body positivity, and like at the same time that like circumcision comes up and it's not a thought in people's minds. Like they still make jokes about it, and like I don't know. It's just like it's just so ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Especially like I feel like it's also strange that there's I'm technically an MRA now, right? And even that like is just so
Mhm.
unconscionable to like a lot of leftist people. They think that you're like a proud boy or something, but actually like we have such a unique culture of there's like so many women in here, in a lot of, I would say, even feminists. It is very liberal, but it's like it's just one of these things where you're just, unless you've read about it, the more you know about it, the more you're about it. But until then, I think it's such, I don't know, it's a great culture, but I think it's such a misunderstood culture at this point that people all the time they're like, I've been asked, who are you? Are you guys pro-life, pro-choice? Are you guys, what do you guys think about guns? It's like, what? Like, just stay on topic. It's a very diverse culture that has its own culture. You have a lot of moms, you have a lot of guys, a lot of, a lot of trauma, but it's its own thing. Like you can't, it's not, you can't just start stringing together other popular issues. I don't know. I just want it to be more well known, really, and like I think that's an important part. Is maybe we need to work on. I agree. I would like to work on my own trauma, but I see it a little bit. I haven't done a lot of group meetings, but sometimes I recognize it in other guys. I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just would.
Yeah.
It's going to take a bit.
Yeah. It's I was there. Yeah.
It's heavy. It's
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is interesting that there's so many different intactivist, sort of subcurrents. There's a big vegan,
yep.
bunch of vegan intactivists, and there's like the carnivore. There's carnivore intactivists who are against the vegan intactivists. It is but difficult, I think, to work together sometimes. Also, just because there are, there's people who are super pro-Trump and like anti-vaccine, and there's like super liberal, like
Yep. Yeah. The
super liberal
vaccine
people.
undercurrent. I even got a vaccine book that
Mhm.
like isn't too heavy, but I wanted to see what that was about because I'm honestly just of the mind that like I've taken vaccines before, but like I've also not taken vaccines at one point. The last time I didn't, just because at that point I had realized I had gotten more distrustful of my medical, like of the, I don't know, the medical professionals, given this whole topic. My doctor actually, it was weird. It's like I felt like as soon as I mentioned circumcision, he really started to fold very easily when he realized that I had any knowledge on it, or at least that's kind of the impression I got. Or like maybe he was always
Right.
against the practice, but he told me it was completely unnecessary and that he wasn't for it. But it just makes me wonder if me being him knowing I was educated on it was like all it really took. I don't know. Um, sorry. I might be
Yeah,
going
I
on
think that's
tangents
probably true.
because I am pretty tired, honestly. I've been working a lot. I work retail right now, so it's I do other things. I go to school.
Uh,
I'm tired, man. So I might be rambling a
it's
bit.
harsh. Yeah, dang.
Um,
It's
but
all right. This is the rambling show. That's what we do here.
but yes, I have a vaccine book. I am it's actually an autobiography. It's not very scientific. I wanted it to be kind of light to just get a idea of how somebody who's like anti-vax like feels about the topic. It's called The Walking Dead. Um
Hmm.
and yeah, it's just about like waking up from some of the pressures in like the whole like medicalized or like medical faith, medical religion, she referred to it as. So I don't know, like I don't know what I'm gonna get out of it, but I think I can definitely pull something out of it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be anti-vax by the time I'm finished with it, but you know, it's relevant. I mean, we have the Pfizer vaccine or the COVID vaccine around the corner, so maybe it's time to look into that a little bit. But I have a lot of books I want to read.
Yeah, I know Brendan studied anti-vaccine a lot just to see and kind of the movement and how the medical community responded to it. Trying to like understand how the responding to another movement, right? That's kind of also anti-medical in a way. Um, so I think that's one interesting aspect of it. Yeah, I haven't really looked into it a lot myself, honestly. I did a post on it on my Facebook the other day, just for entertainment purposes, and got a few hundred comments from various activists and people. So that was fun.
It's a hot button
Yeah,
issue for
yeah,
sure on both sides. But there, I don't know that what
it is.
I've always been a little bit wary of the people who go so hardcore on people who are anti-vax. Like I didn't have I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know about this topic, but I just feel like regardless, it's a little extreme to be like making the kind of like memes that people do like about just like dead kid jokes, but like very like towards people who actually have kids, things like that. I'm like I don't know if I can't see myself
Yeah,
ever becoming that person, even if I come out the other side being like vaccines are the best. I just don't see how like people get so viciously like against people who are anti-vax. I don't know. Like I don't I guess it affects them in some way because of the herd mentality thing or the herd immunity. Sorry, um, I don't know, but I've there's yeah, as the person who I don't think she'll mind me mentioning her name, Gigi uh Kudalini. I don't know. She's actually props
hmm,
to her. She had a whole stack of books, and I remember immediately feeling so grateful, thinking like, "This is I'm in the right place." Like I am friends with people who read a ton of books. Like this is not the kind of group that you just kind of decide one day, like, oh, like like you have to. It's not like I feel like some other groups where you can like kind of get away with knowing like a little bit. I feel like this topic requires you to do a lot of research. Um, People
for
are like
sure.
always attacking you. And the thing is, too, I noticed I was very wary that when you read too much, then you're obsessed. But of course, you have to read or else you're ignorant. So it's like I felt like there's this sweet spot. Like I'm going to read like two books and like this kind of interactivist guidebook, and that'll be the sweet spot. So like the people who are just ridiculously defensive can't be like, oh my gosh, you're just obsessed. Like, oh gosh, you can't win. You just cannot win with some people.
Yeah, for me, my mental health, I just can't. I haven't. researched that much into activism in the past 7 years, really, since I first learned about it. I studied it a lot, but then like I was like, oh, this is too much, and I had to stop.
Let it simmer. Let it
Read a
brew.
lot because it's just like, yeah, it's intense. It's really intense because there's just endless information that seems to be so horrible. All of it's just so shitty. It's like, man, I someone else is joining us. Sorry.
Nice.
Just realized someone's in the waiting room. Force complete wants to join. So,
That was
Force
grueling.
complete. You are now here. Oh, never mind.
I don't mind
Yeah,
sharing
I
the
lost my
space.
train of thought.
No, we were talking about how difficult the material is, which I agree. I started a book club that had an entire group of one other person, but we talked for like every 2 weeks. We read that same book. I think it was a lot better to get the information in, but it's so, I could like try to describe, like, it's, oh man, it's like, I think part of you just wants to externalize it. I deal with a lot of things that make me uncomfortable with humor, but it's like it's so personal at the same time that I think it's just like it does something to my mind where it's just like this awkward, like half smile, kind of like it's just so confusing. It's just such a like it's like more than personal. It's like reflex. It's so difficult, and I even reading the second book I read was the Ronald Goldman book, the circumcision trauma book. And there were things I recognized that I'm glad were kind of vocalized, which is like there's some things like this is going to sound funny to some people, and maybe it is, like, again, I can laugh at it, but things like scissors near my face or things like that, like sharp objects or whatever, certain phrases of terms of speech, like a cut above the rest or something, I like flinch now towards. Even by, I mean, like I felt like I don't know when that came about. I don't know. It's maybe it's just, but there was something that I felt like had always, I don't know. That was like always kind of, I had a very guttural reaction to some things when I started to, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I do know, I think I'm just like, it's like, I don't even want to talk about it, but maybe you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Gregory Melchuk says all the hallmarks of PTSD, which is true. It's a traumatic reaction, you know. It's like when you become hyper tuned to a certain frequency of trauma, certain elements of a traumatic event, then you start to notice it everywhere. You become hyper vigilant, and it's trying to protect you from, and your mind is trying to protect you from these things that you've experienced before. You know, you don't want to engage with it because it's like it's dangerous. Your body knows that there's this incredible violence associated with it, and so
I related to what you're saying. I think I don't know if it's, yeah. It does. What
was that?
When you said I think the last time I had heard you speak on a podcast, that whole idea that you feel threatened, or like other people have this sort of power over you and it makes you feel like they're a predator. Like, I relate to that so much. It's something I repress or something, but there is something that's very uncomfortable, especially when, like, and people will flat out talk to you like that if they feel affronted enough. It'll be like one of their first things. So, like, I mean, I don't know. This is something that, I mean, Brandon had said, probably if you have trauma around the issue, which a lot of people probably have, it's probably, he doesn't think it's a good idea to be hashing it out with people who are against you. I think it's just going to happen as an activist talking about the issue. There's always going to, you can't like find is, I don't know, we can have a larger discussion of how you find people who are more neutral on the issue and just avoid people or who are just going to be the most nasty. But for me, it's not something I look for. Like it's just something that, like, I don't know, it's when the discussion arises, those people are inevitably going to be there. So I don't know. It's just it's a tall order to try to deal with your own issues surrounding it, which is kind of like the next spot I wanted to go into, but also trying to like advocate for it and be nice about it too. Like you it's kind of it's I guess it's kind of similar to a lot of other issues though. It's like asking any minority group, not that men isn't really a minority group, but I guess being cut is a minority group. Yeah, to just like to
Children
have
are
that
considered
group.
a minority,
Yeah, they can't speak for themselves,
and
so
men's rights is, the movement too. Yeah. Yeah, that was my first ever video, was one about children's justice, if you will, and how this is a social justice issue that affects children because children don't have a voice, and because they're young. It's ageism, right? We understand that ageism affects children and adults, but we just haven't applied it to this issue. You could also make an argument that it's systemically an attack against men, and that's one of the arguments that men's rights makes, that genital mutilation, among a number of other things, affects men, even though it doesn't. Those things don't affect women in the same way. They have higher drug abuse rates, prison, sent to war, death professions, depression, PTSD. Men have a lot of issues that if any minority was suffering from higher rates of all of those things, we'd be like, oh, they must be oppressed. They must be suffering some horrible systemic injustice that happens to men, and it's privilege. It's kind of anyways. Um, yeah, dealing with being in that position where you're confronted with this is, I think you said something great, which is like uh, having that like internal ability to deal with your own trauma at the same, be diplomatic and be kind of very as compassionate as you can be with someone who's doesn't this was the most traumatic thing for you in your life. It's like this horrible thing, and they're like, oh yeah, it's just a snip. Yeah, it's ha ha ha.
yeah.
It's like,
No, that's like one of my biggest pet peeves is like when people just say things that are so factually incorrect, like it's extra skin. Every boy ever is born with extra skin. Like how does that even sound right? How do people like come to that conclusion? I never started out as like against circumcision, but I know I was never for circumcision. One of my favorite videos actually that I came across with Brother K is simply a guy taking a card saying, I'm not sure about too much about this topic. I'm going to try to learn more about it. Thank you so much. It's like, brilliant. Perfect response. That's all we're asking. That's like all anybody could ever reasonably expect from anybody is that you're just going to say, I'm not so sure. And like, that's what I was saying. Actually, when I first went to my first protest, I was asked, like, how do you feel about it? And I said, I'm not so like, I feel like it's wrong. And I'm like reading about it right now. I'm like, I feel like it's wrong. And like, they're just like, okay. Like I felt like they couldn't really use me as a spokesperson yet, but I wasn't ready. And then and that's all you can really ask. Like nobody was mad at me. It's just but from the other end, like, where are these people that are just like come out there, guns blazing, very loudly ignorant? Like I can't stand it. It makes me so pissed off. Like that's
right. Yeah, that's a lot of the problem I have with. I hate to go to vaccines again, but this is a good point. Right, a lot of the people who are very, very like against the vaccines, often like I've noticed that some of the most loud, like just people, are actually like pretty uneducated. Like I've had a lot of people in my Uber and Lyft rides who like really have a really strong opinion on it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, tell me about it. And they have these weird these weird theories and these weird ideas that don't really make sense, and they're really passionate about it. But I'm like, you that was completely incoherent. Like, I'm sorry, but it's bizarre that some of the most loud people are so stupid. And there's valid reasons to be against vaccines. I know that, but there's also vaccine in certain cases. I think it's hard to make that argument either way. The thing that's interesting about genital mutilation is there's not really a good argument for it. There's a lot of myths around it, which is so it's understandable, that people have these misconceptions. But yeah,
I often say it's like I'm
Gregory
like,
Melchuk says. Sorry, I was just gonna say, epistemic injustice and testimonial injustice is in the experience of or existence of unhappily circumcised men, which is a good point because that's Brendan's next book. So it's
man,
about
is that the whole, I know a
justice,
person, I
social
asked him, he said he
justice.
was fine. My boyfriend says he's happy that he's cut. That
Say that
whole,
again.
oh wait, wait, I've heard about this. Testimonial injustice. It's like not taking somebody's word for their like personal experience seriously. Like, I'm trying to remember. No, I was sorry. I was kind of.
Yeah.
I think I missed. I was like not really answering, like understanding what testimonial injustice is. It was kind of coming to me, but it just, I don't know. I was talking about how people who really wouldn't know, like, I don't know. It's, I don't know. I guess I have to read that book. I'm thinking about the people who say like, "Oh, I'm happy that I'm cut," but it's just kind of like, how would any of us like really know unless you kind of know how to look, like how to suss that out? Like, there are definitely, I don't know, like everybody has a different like unique experiences. I think there's a lot of commonalities. There's certainly evidence of uh like memory and trauma with that's been shown in some studies. So like there are certainly different testimonies that I've like listened to, like, but I don't know how these like the people who say that they're happy that they're cut, like where that fits in. Because to me that just seems a little bit like, testimony or not, like you really don't know the things that are facts that are like right here, you know? Like,
Um.
I don't know. I think I needed a definition on testimonial injustice because, like I said, I heard it, but I'm also like pretty tired right now. I could search it up. I think it was about like putting too much weight on the academic and like not taking people's personal experiences like into proper account. I'd guess. Testimonial injustice. I really hope you're right about this being a ranting show or podcast. Yeah. Unfairness related to trusting someone's word. Not believed because they're all right. I hope I'm not committing testimonial injustice by disbelieving people who are saying that they're happy that they're cut. I just haven't really
Hey.
heard a. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, it cut out there for a second. I'm so annoyed with my internet right now. It's not good.
No, I was looking up the word. It could have been
Cut
me. I
out
was
for a
thinking,
bit.
I hope I'm not committing testimonial injustice by dismissing the whole I'm happy that I'm cut, but like at the same time I've never heard somebody really like
Well,
elaborate on that as to like why. Literally never to any. extent beyond that. They're just like, it usually just becomes a joke after that, like some aesthetic kind of laugh, like, you know, turtlenecks or something like
Greg
that.
Melchuk said, hold on. People refusing to acknowledge the actual experience of angry circumcised men. Kevin Cagel's suicide was a perfect example. Even his best friend, who he trusted to post his suicide note, and then I guess I can't see it because it's on too long of a comment, and I'm on YouTube or on Restream. Greg, you should join us on the discussion.
Do it. I'm just rambling away. I'm way too undercaffeinated to be doing this alone.
I want to hear Greg tell us about epistemic injustice, because he could probably explain it a lot better than I could. Suicide note on Facebook stated in a preface to blurb that something else was what was really bothering him. Yeah, the thing with epistemic injustice or any kind of social justice is you have to look at who the dominant narrative is and understand the power structures that are in place, the whole basically system or systems involved in society. And in this case, the dominant narrative is that circumcision is harmless. That's almost universal. Most people believe that. And all of the structures in society, the medical structures, religious structures, legal structures, parental structure, et cetera, are set up so that it's framed that circumcision is a medical procedure rather than genital mutilation, and that it's harmless, et cetera, et cetera. So, so basically, that's epistemic injustice, or that's the background to epistemic injustice. Epistemic injustice, if I understand it right, is your way of or understanding. Epistemology is this science or philosophy of knowing, of how we know and what we know. And so epistemic injustice kind of says like your frame of saying that you're harmed by circumcision, and your personal feelings around it is invalid because we have this medical frame, we have this scientific frame, and behind that that's created this whole way of knowing that says your personal experience is invalid, and so your testimony doesn't actually matter. And so it kind of invalidates it by the whole entire way society is set up, that you don't even have words to fully express what is going on. And that's another part of epistemic injustice, is that Brendan's trying to address. Hey, we have someone else trying to join. Is that you don't have the word to fully explain this whole system and how it's affecting you. Yeah, someone just tried to join, and I tried to let them. I wonder if it's working or if it's not working.
Can you have more than one person in?
Man.
I don't mind sharing the spotlight for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the call,
you should be able to. I just tried to let them in, and it didn't do it. But that might just be because my computer's. I don't know. Oh man.
It's definitely hard to put into words.
Hopefully this will work better in the future.
I'm not ashamed to say I actually recently got to talking to a psychologist. Like, I always get therapist and psychologist mixed up. Pretty sure he's a psychologist. And I brought this up, and he was like, well, I'm not an expert on circumcision. I just thought that was kind of funny that it was just like, I was like, I said, let's just say I was like, I don't know, like Muslim or something. Could you find somebody who like is like not Islamophobic or something? Like, wouldn't that be something you could do? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, like just find me somebody who's like understands what I'm saying. Doesn't have to be an expert, just is against, routine infant circumcision. Like, that's all I really need. Just find somebody who's like falls on that side of the fence. I don't need a expert, like just, it's just more of like let's just like skip all this. It got to a point, I think one of the things I'm like speaking rapid fire about like all the information And I felt like he probably just should be paying me. I'm like giving him like all this information. He's like, okay, you know, and I don't know, like I haven't really had enough time to get actually like that deep into like the substance of like any of the issues that because I'm still talking very generally, but yeah, I was like, I don't know, man. You'd think that there would be more people who just automatically took to skepticism. It's a little frustrating that like people like I don't know. I waver on that all the time. Part of me is just like, like I know people in my family like that, like cousins and stuff or whatever that like probably were cut and I don't think I was educated enough to be like, don't or like, so I'm glad I have that experience at least to know that there was a point that I wasn't completely on board. Like I have to remind myself about that. But at the same time, everybody has
Yeah.
stuff going on in their lives and I wasn't having a kid. And I think if I was having a kid, I would always have studied it. I think. So it's a little I don't know. I fall on it's I'm not sure. I think about that sometimes. It's like I get it, but at the same time sometimes I'm just kind of just awestruck that people are just like, yeah, no, totally. Here you go. Here's my child, just born. Let's just do this. Like, I don't think I can't see myself ever doing that without having some reservations, some serious reservations. But I'm sure again, I've never been in
Right.
that situation where doctors have been pressuring me and that I had a whole, family structure and like, everybody pressuring me in that moment, telling me that this was the right thing to do. So, I've never experienced that. I'm sure that's probably the piece that I'm not getting. You know?
Yeah, definitely. It's a hard thing when you have no information. To me, it's hard for me to like empathize and fully get into someone else's skin because to me sex is so important and so involving sexuality it would be like such a critical decision for me. But not everyone cares about sex that much. It's not the most important thing in their life or something that's like, wow, really, really critical.
It
Um,
depends on their argument.
so difference maybe.
There's some people I do not want to like.
Yeah.
I will look at the argument and I'm going to be like, I am not the person to have a gentle educational moment with this person, somebody else. I'm just going to sit back because there's nothing nice that I'm about to say. If somebody had some, like, was, every once in a while you get somebody who is who brings up like, UTI statistics or, like Wiswell or something. It's like, okay, cool. Like, this is the person I actually want to talk to and be civil with. But it's like there are just some instances that just get under my skin. Like I don't know. I had to actually leave a group that I felt like I wasn't right for because their kind of policy was always to be nice. And I'm like, listen, like I know in my heart that like if anybody's going to be blatantly body shaming, just saying that like men are disgusting, but not like, really understanding that's exactly what they're saying. I'm not about it. And if somebody's going to make the religious argument, somebody else can understand that better than I can, but I certainly cannot. I know I'm not that person. So like those are the two arguments that people will kind of throw in
Yeah.
there that like get me so like how how do you not understand that that is a freedom of religion also means freedom from religion? I think some people mix that up and they think that you have to have a religion to have freedom of religion. It's like, no, no. And like that kid could grow up to have any sort of beliefs, whether they're your beliefs but slightly altered, or like, that they believe in Brit Shalom, like you, that is not your call. And to assume that is a violation of their freedom of religion, I would say. So I just like, I don't even want to have that argument with people. I would like to categorize
Right.
like the different arguments we get thrown and like how gentle of an education or like where that could even go. Maybe like tally that up of like how many positive, productive conversations even get had within those spheres, but I don't see it going anywhere if somebody's body shaming a guy or if they assume like, you know, the religious
Yeah.
authority. I don't know.
Someone just tried to join King Squid, just so you know. I tried to let you in, and again, it just didn't, it just disappeared out of it. So let me know if you tried to join, whoever that is. I don't know who King Squid is, but if you can comment below, if there's a reason that you weren't able to join, or if it's something on my end, I don't know. But that's the second time that happened. Happy Gay said that he was joined, or he didn't join because he chickened out. But I know my internet connection is unstable. So, anyways,
Do
yeah,
it.
Greg
Join.
Melchuk says, I'm sick of hearing about studies. There is no study that would cause people to accept female circumcision. We must knee-jerk opposition to FGM, which is really just a profound desire to protect the physical integrity of girls.
I want to
To
talk about
demand total
that
sexual
too.
equality for universal rights.
The thing
Oh,
that drives
Squid is trying to join again.
you ever hear people go, those things are different. It's like, wow, it's almost like that's what a comparison is. Could you imagine if somebody was like, you know what oranges are like?
Mm-hmm.
Like other oranges. Like, yeah, of course. But like when you're making a comparison, those like female genital cutting and male genital cutting, especially when you're talking about prepuce to prepuce, the same part just developed differently. You really don't get comparisons that are as applicable or like related as that. You just don't. So like for the people who just say, well, those are different, and then at the same time they're like talking about haircuts, like getting a haircut is somehow related to, and like nobody really debates that. They're like, yeah, getting your hair cut. It's like getting your hair cut. It's like, I don't know. Just like you just have to explain what a comparison is. Comparisons are two like similar objects that are different, or like people, or whatever the subject matter is. It's just like so ridiculous. Like female genital cutting
Mm-hmm.
is remarkably similar to male genital cutting. It really is. Culturally, the attitudes about it, the fact that so many women are so happy about it, that like, oh, I know my boyfriend says that. It's like, yeah, well, you know, most women also love their cut genitals, but we know better. We know that
Hi,
that's
hi, hi, guys.
hey,
Can you hear me? Yeah. I didn't want to
King Squid.
interrupt, but yeah.
hi.
Yes.
Also,
It's all good.
I would.
Were you joining us
Ten,
from Facebook?
I'm joining from YouTube.
Nice.
YouTube. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good to have you here. How's it going?
It's going all right. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Yeah. Glad we figured out how to get more guests on here. I was thinking like, is this thing totally messed up? But apparently not. So glad you're here.
Oh yeah, I had a connection issue the first time. That might have been what happened. So.
All right.
Greg, you should join the call. I read all of your comments. You have such good comments, but I can't read all of them because it interrupts the flow. If you want to talk, you should like join the thing. I'm gonna post this link again so you can join. But I can only be here for another, I don't know, half hour or so. So get on. Anyways. Greg will join in about 10 minutes. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. King Squid, what were you saying before I interrupted you?
Oh yeah, so I mean, I guess I'm probably relatively new to this movement. I would also agree with. I'm sorry, what the person with the long John.
Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I would agree that the female genital mutilation and routine infant circumcision are very similar. I don't know if that's the best rhetorical tactic for. I mean, obviously, we're not trying to spread our message here right now. I don't know if that's the best way to recruit new people. I think that's a little bit of an abrasive message, even if it's true. I don't know if people are ready to hear that and accept that yet. So
Hmm. You
Yeah.
mean the message of genital mutilation, or that it's that
well,
it is
I
genital
would agree with you.
mutilation?
I would agree with you. That's what it is. I think a lot of other people might find that abrasive, especially when they don't know anything about it. But
Especially because I feel like it being a men's rights issue, sometimes it's like it becomes, I don't know. Sometimes I might be overblowing the division between like uh feminist ideals and like men's ideals. It's just like sometimes I feel like the loudest voices are not the most populist voices, but for certain there are like I feel like there is some sort of like and like I don't know. I feel like there's not enough. There's so many women in this intactivist movement. I gotta say that it reminds me to be grateful for women like all the time. It really does. Even when they're like women who are mothers who are very defensive and stuff. Actually, even in that point, I still respect women more than I respect the men who just haven't been able to sort through their own trauma. Not everybody feels like that. A lot of people understand and empathize with the men who like are completely just not like willing to take in new information. I'm not one of those people. I actually feel like I kind of like understand women a little bit more. So like I don't know. I think that I hope that we can make the comparison because it's really the best comparison that we have aside from Europe, which is largely a culture of people who are completely fine and intact. And I do talk about that. Um, yeah, it's just right there. The AAP and the whole ritual Nick thing, the fact that there's been a case of female genital cutting in Detroit not too long ago, like a year old or so. It's like it's not even that they're opposing. They're like they're the same. Like it's not even a comparison in some context. They are just the same. Like in like I'm actually fighting and have
Right.
brought attention to female genital cutting as well and intersex genital cutting. Like I don't it it's really like it's a men's issue, but it's like it's also just kind of an everybody issue. We're all affected by this. Women too, if they are straight and are having sex
Right.
with men, we're all like I think we're almost so affected that we just don't even understand how much. I feel like none of us in America can even fully grasp like how affected we are. I feel like I realize something every single time I hear somebody outside of America put their 2 cents in. Like they're just so bewildered that like I wish that I was coming from that perspective instead of the person who's come out of it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just so shocking to be like having been I don't know. Everybody was unaware at some point. I can't say that again. I was never the person who was just like, oh, this is fine. I don't want to, like I was never for it personally, but like everybody thought that's who was cut thought, oh, that's just the way that I look. I think that's what I thought. My bad.
Right.
Sorry, I went on a
King
tangent
Squid,
again.
yeah,
it's all good, man. No, that was all relevant to the.
Female, male
Just want to
comparison.
bring King in.
Yeah, I agree with what
Oh,
he's saying.
I mean, so I probably don't have a lot of experience actually talking to people who, I haven't been to protests or anything. Although maybe that's something I would like to do in the future.
It's all right.
Sounds like you have. So
bit.
I think you probably have a better understanding of how people respond when you present them with different arguments or analogies. So
Yeah.
you might know better than me here.
Sometimes when you've been at it for a while, you kind of forget what new people, how they think, I've seen it's actually a, kind of a universal cognitive problem that any expert has, is that they lose the ability to empathize with someone who's new to the issue or who's totally new, because, you've been with it so long, you kind of forget. So I actually really appreciate sharing their experience, or like what helped you, what helped recruit you, or what helped you think about it, would be another way to say it.
You're asking me.
Is there something that kind of got you thinking like, yeah?
Well, I don't know. I mean, so I'm Jewish. I think I always kind of recognize though, like from when someone told me what circumcision was, I'm like, that sounds kind of suspect. And I thought, I'm probably never going to do this to my kids, 5 kids, and I'll definitely look it up before that point. And then I don't know, a little while ago, I guess I decided to look it up, and there's a lot. There's a lot of information out there. A lot of it's kind of shocking, in my opinion. But the more I learned about it, the more I'm like, this is not okay. So
I feel like that.
Right.
I hope this isn't too personal, but is that difficult for you as a Jewish person? Did like I feel like I would have to. There was actually a book that I came across that I almost wanted to read called, it was like A Jewish Perspective, Circumcision in a Jewish Perspective. But did you read a book like that, or did you read something that was like I've only read Circumcision by David Goldhair, and I don't know. Was it? Yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't mind me asking, like what sources did you read, and did you feel like at some point was it uncomfortable? Did you feel like kind of attacked? Because I mean, reading it for me, just like I think that whatever religion you're reading about, its context is so important. Like a lot of it, I think, no matter what religion you're talking about, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, it's I think like sometimes you're just like, wow, So I'm just kind of, I don't know, if you don't mind me asking, like I don't know, it was difficult for me to read. I feel like I would have almost a more difficult time if I was Jewish myself.
no, yeah. And I think so. I don't know if I went as deep into the literature as you did. I read some of this. I just read some PDFs online. I think one of them might have been by there's the famous guy who wrote a lot of stuff. I think you mentioned it. I forget what his name is. But I did that. I watched some YouTube videos, some here, some of the other people we've been speaking about. Yeah, I don't know. I went on some of the anti-activist websites. I looked at their resources. And then as for the second question, it was very not easy. Because this issue touches on so many personal and I suppose also taboo subjects. Like sex, and for me, religion, in a very personal way. And I think you're right, to some extent. I did feel kind of attacked by all these very personal things to me. And the religion was one more on top of that, which was not easy to come to grips with. So
yeah, it's very impressive. I think it's kind of like with regret moms, for instance. It's like, but even as somebody who's Jewish, that's like, I feel like that's something that is really just kind of thrust on you, that like, I don't know, like this topic was kind of just thrust on me. I didn't know like what I was getting into when I first picked up or asked for a book at Barnes and Noble. They didn't have anything in the store, by the way. I found that kind of interesting. I'd order online. They had no books in the entire store on that subject. But yeah, like I think it's more impressive, and like props to you that you read up on it. Like I don't understand why I don't know. Like I really hope that nobody ever gives you flack for your religion. And I hope that no regret moms, no mothers who've like, had a change of heart ever get any flack, because a lot of these people are going to be and have already been like like I don't even have words. Like I don't even know if there would be a movement without Jewish people, regret moms. There would be no I don't, yeah, there would be no Ronald Goldman or Marilyn Milos or, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on a name. We lost her. I'm so sorry. I don't know if somebody has the name, but
Rosemary?
yes, thank you, Romberg. I think I'm saying that
Romberg?
right. Yes, I've
She
probably slaughtered.
died.
She did.
No, she died.
I
It's
didn't
like
get a
all over
chance to meet.
Facebook. Are you on? You're on Facebook, Greg.
What's she known for?
She wrote
Wrote
a book.
one of the first books on circumcision and being a regret parent, and she did a lot of blogs. She did a lot of shit. She was around for many decades, about the same as Marilyn, I think.
Yeah, the name sounds.
But
very
yeah,
familiar.
painful. I'm trying to remember what her book was.
She was mentioned. I mean, I read about her because she was
Um,
mentioned in the circumcision book by David Goldhair. But yeah, my point just being that it's like I don't, again, it's not most people, but you can't deny that I can't deny I have talked to somebody who's like, I don't think regret moms should even be forefronting this movement. And I honestly couldn't, I could not, what I never agreed with it. It came to be that like I almost could not disagree more. Like I think it's so important to have a diverse movement. We should not be splitting ourselves up like that, literally from support. And especially when those people are like some of the most powerful voices and they deserve the most props because like it sucks to say I've had beliefs and I've done things that like I am not proud of. Like I'm sorry, like man, and I'm friends with this person. This person's probably gonna block me right after. I'm sorry, I don't care. I'm not gonna out their name or anything, but I just like I'm just not that person. We have to be willing to forgive people, and especially like Jewish people. You have nothing to really forgive as far as like your religion having been set up the way that it is. It's just something that like just like Catholicism, like it's just going to take some sorry, my dog's literally just trying to play with me, just biting my hand and stuff. But yeah, just like with Catholicism and like the gay rights movement, it's like they've kind of found a compromise that's good enough. The current Pope seems to be kind of more chill about it. It's like I feel like just, you know, it's a work in progress. It should hopefully is in progress, but like I just
Yeah, I mean, I'm a total pragmatist. I really don't care about what people's histories are.
Yeah. So it's just like it's gonna be a evolution. I think it's changing, but it's kind of like we shall see.
One of the things I wanted to point out, and the reason why I said that this is so important, the comparison to FGM. So I have been lurking around this movement for some time now, and I notice that there are certain thought terminating cliches, and you can't compare the two is definitely one of them. And the only way to bust through these is to force people to think. And that's where you have to come in and say, no. You can compare anything. You can compare the apples and oranges. Like I said, the stupid thing I put in chat, they're both the fruits of angiosperm plants. They both contain ascorbic acid, fructose. They're both the swollen ovaries of a flower. Yeah, you can compare anything. The only thing you need to compare anything is an intimate knowledge of both subjects. And the people that scream at us hysterically if we make that comparison seem to be notably lacking in a lot of knowledge.
Yeah. They'll be like, how dare you? You should be ashamed. Like people just go right there.
Right.
Or
They have
can't
to
feel
react
anything
emotionally to shut it down.
Yeah, they'll say that the women can't feel anything. Well, that's just flat out not true. Right? We have studies that suggest that they achieve climax at the same rates as Western women. Now, that's not to say it's not damaging, but it's obviously somewhat more subtle, and the principles that make it wrong are far more fundamental than arguing about harm. Again, the reaction on that side, the female side, is knee-jerk. It's just that it's this knee-jerk reaction, and if you try to dissect it, what you end up with is just this sort of primal desire to protect women and protect the physical integrity of women, although notably only women.
There's, I mean,
and the same
On the-
standard needs to hold true for men. Right, we're living in the 21st century. There's no excuse for sex discrimination in basic human rights laws.
a lot of people, I think, they think that it's all clitorectomy. They think that they think the only form of genital cutting is excision of the clitoris.
Even if it
Not-
was, I mean, that's only the most distal tip of the clitoris.
Mhm. Well, yeah,
Right.
there's the
Infibulate, and then
niche-
they monger about infibulation. Well, that's less than 10% of cases, and it can also be reversed.
Well, I know that there's a type of female circumcision that is the prepuce. It's the clitoral hood. So
Clitoral hood excision. Yeah, I mean, so that's the other problem. They've defined it down to being literally anything, including just pricking. So
Right.
that's a low standard. I don't have to compare it to these big horrible things anymore. You have set the standard infinitely low. So you have to corner them on this, and there's certain areas where my own internal status quo and dialogue is not where the movements is, and
I'm gonna move it to the left.
this is one of those areas where I don't think there's enough clear, concise interaction taking place. People shy away from the whole comparison issue. I really came down hard on this. I was watching documentaries, particularly ones that were taking place in like Europe, covering the current ferment surrounding what's going on in Denmark and other places. And like this keeps cropping up. It keeps cropping up, this thought terminating cliche. The female variant is worse. It's worse. You can't compare the two. It's worse. And I don't see our people, and I quite like them. I think they're quite bold, but even our people in Europe are not really hitting back hard on this point, and you have to. The only way out is through. You can't ignore these thought terminating cliches.
Well, so I don't know too much about a lot about this, but an analogy which seems to be what this is, even if it's a very good one, is an argumentative strategy for getting people to understand or to think about something they already know and apply it here. My question is it effective? It seems like I don't know if people are ready, even if you present them with all the information, I don't know if they're ready to accept the truth of the situation, that they are very similar.
Well,
when you present the information, do they change their mind?
I'll tell you what is very ineffective is when they invoke you can't compare the two thought terminating cliche, and the debate basically ends and it goes on to some other less relevant, less fundamental topic or aspect of the issue. Because I'm literally seeing this in these debates. The Europeans, they'll just throw up, oh well, this isn't a big emergency. We don't have to deal with this right now. It's not a big issue anyway, because female worse. if you let it go there, that's really bad. To me, that's defeat. That's ceding the field, ceding the narrative, giving up and going home. No, you have to hold your ground. You have to dissect the real reasons why they think it's so terrible, debunk most of them. Talk about how in Southeast Asia and whatnot, the female variant has become heavily medicalized, and there are studies that suggest reduction in HIV transmission in women.
Right.
I guess that makes it acceptable, right? Because if we're just doing this cost accounting of harm,
That I've never looked into. As far as like, I've wondered about that when people make the whole UTI argument. It's like I've never really looked at if in female genital cutting would reduce that. I suspect that
it might.
possibly might.
And
Yeah,
it might do it in the male variant too, in proportion to how much of the organ you destroy, but that doesn't make it okay.
No, I mean, I think I've read about it. Like it's one of those things that I would discuss, and I don't think that over time it makes any difference. But if it makes any difference, it's I think 0.01. I know that sounds like a made up statistic, but I could pull it up in
Right.
it was the largest study that has been done. People often refer to the Wiswell study. There's one that's more I think it's more recent. I know it's a lot more accurate, and it was actually about 0.01% difference. I mean, I could probably
what they don't tell you about the Africa studies is that some of them indicated an increase in male to female transmission by about the same amount, the quoted 60% number. It doesn't help at all among homosexual transmission, which for better or for worse is the main vector of HIV transmission in the West.
And that's a relative risk. The 60% is it's a whole equation. The absolute difference is about 1.6%. And it's just like when you get to those...
Many of the studies didn't show anything at all. But the point is none of this matters. None of it's fundamental. Another thing, because it always comes back to universal human rights, physical integrity. Another thing that's rather interesting, that I find very interesting, is what they did in Africa, where they basically said, okay, this is so good, we're stopping all longitudinal studies and we're going to recommend it to everybody. That was bigger than you may think, because they actually said it in the studies, like, this is so wonderful, it would actually be unethical to ever again attempt a genuine randomized controlled trial for the efficacy, which is ridiculous. I mean, you guys were talking about vaccines earlier. I'm mostly pro-vax. I'll level with you, but one of the not insignificant claims is basically that they did basically the same thing. They basically said genuine randomized control trials now no longer apply because the benefit is so clear. Make of it what you will.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy claim.
Well, just
yeah,
it's putting it into the realm of non-falsifiability, so you'll never be able to prove them wrong without doing something that they claim is unethical.
I mean, for me, it's just like, I feel like as soon as I read that it was clearly mutilation, I think it was in the chapter called Fabric of the Foreskin, and like, it was like, I'm reading this and it was like, my body is a wonderland could have been playing in the back of my head. Like, I was like, whoa, you can, what? There's so much.
The ischemic necrosis death of normal tissue is an inherent harm, and that is not the case in the current discourse, at least in America. I would argue even in Europe.
That was everything.
There's like this burden of proving over and above levels of harm. No. The deliberate ischemic necrosis death is in and of itself the harm.
Yeah, like the biology, interferons, macrophages, lymphocytes, like there's Meissner's corpuscles. There was a lot. Like, I could study each one of these in depth. I've definitely like read about them, but like only like a quick Google search, because there was like a lot, but like there's a lot. And I at that point, what I loved about the Circumcision book by David Goldhair is it goes backwards from history, but it also covers different, like it takes it from different vantage points. Like it goes into the the science, like ritual to science. And that was kind of like, for me reading it, I was like, this is the chance to be like, okay, well, we know that I know it's mutilation. I know it is, because I just read it. Like, it clearly has a lot of function. So what medical plague could possibly justify taking that away? Like, it's got to be really bad, and it's got to be like everybody who has foreskin gets AIDS. Like, I don't know, something really
Get
impressive.
Black Death.
And
I
it
don't know.
wasn't
I mean,
there.
I've often said I don't care if it would make people fly through the air like Superman. The fundamentals do not work out.
No.
Well, then it
Um,
should be the owner of the body part. If it prevented HIV 100% of the time, then let the person make a decision with informed consent before they reach the age of sexual activity.
that's another issue when we
I
talk
know, but
about
we know
not
that's why
stepping on.
they won't do it, because nobody will go along with it if that's the
What,
case.
what do you guys think about the adopting the phrase
Hi, Ward.
"my body, my
Duncan.
choice"? Because I feel like some people are like, you shouldn't
Join.
even use it. It's not yours to have. And I'm
Oh,
kind
I'm
of like,
enthusiastic about it. I thought Lasquadro hit a home run when he over there with his truck, the I did not consent theme with the pictures of all the men holding the baby pictures and stuff like that. I thought that was brilliant. That was a stroke of genius, which I think was sort of right up that alley.
I don't know if we should be co-opting phrases from other movements. I think that's a way to turn people against us. I think
Oh, it's
let those
absolutely a way.
let
It's
those movements have
absolutely a
their
way to get.
phrases. We should have our own phrases. Yeah.
I had my sign said, "My body belongs to me." That was the sign that I held at the first protest that I went to. And I've only been to one other one. I've really been only part of the movement for like maybe 3 years. And like in that really studying like hard. So I wouldn't even say like, of course it was probably at a certain point within that time, probably within like the first year, like when it was probably at the point where I had found out what the functions of the foreskin, like probably halfway through that book, that I was pretty much like on board. But yeah, like maybe that could be a hashtag, just "my body belongs to me." Maybe that's too long. I don't know. But that's how I feel. Um,
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What? Hi, Warden. Is that how you say your name, Warden? We have a new person on the call. Just wanted to greet. If you want to say anything, say hi. But yeah, if you want to, self, please feel welcome. I've been noticing a lot of what we've been talking about here on this call is frame control, essentially. Frame control, right? Because it's like essentially these are all different arguments, and if you get too far into the AIDS or trying or something, there's a lot of studies and a lot of literature you have to know, but it's like, and this comes back to epistemic injustice. Like if you come from your own personal mutilation, I know enough about the sexual aspect of it to, as we say, if there was 100% reduction in AIDS, which it's not, if there's 100% reduction in every STD, I still wouldn't mutilate my genitals. You know, it's absurd. It's the most ridiculous. You choose female genital mutilation? Would you choose to cut off your clitoris or any other part of your vulva because there's some reduction in these? No, no. Obviously, pretty much no woman would. So it's that base, that frame, which is our frame. People are too. It's too easy to off track, and they get distracted by some argument that pro-circumcision people will throw out, and a phrase that you can use to get people's attention is good, but then you have to have the argument there. You have to be able to, and for that you just need to know the basic sexual effects and how it affects you.
I may be showing my hand a little bit with this, but just thinking openly. This is also probably because I've been kind of active on the TikTok platform a little bit. and seeing a lot of like leftist kind of like TikTok stuff, which is great. But I feel like I wonder if it would be beneficial for men to like actually open up more emotionally, creatively about body positivity, about personal experience, and like have more of like an emotional discussion. I just like I'm kind of curious about that, how that would work, because at the same time it's like there is a there like it's so ridiculous, but there just is still somehow this whole thing of just ridiculing men for like having any sort of emotion about anything. It's just like, oh, cry about it. And that's like so contrary to another discourse that's like,
Oh yes, why
men,
don't
like,
men
open
show
up.
more emotion, and then
Yeah,
we
exactly.
mercilessly mock them the minute they do.
They do. Like they literally do. I feel like people don't understand that. And part of me just kind of wants it to be like, well, let's just show everybody then that
The
like
portion
that is
of them,
clearly how you act. Like
the
that you
portion
guys
of them,
literally.
yeah, the portion of them that claim to be feminists need to be frozen and the screen caps recorded and later be trotted out against them to prove that this nonsense about men showing their feelings was apparently total crap on their end. They were
I
lying.
mean, it can't be everybody. Like I know it's definitely an issue, but again, like I have to
Well,
constantly
for
remind
part of the
myself that it's the
population.
loud voices. Just because something has like 200,000 like likes or something does not mean that that one person represents a lot of people. It's
Oh, I
just like
know.
it's weird to think that way, but it's just like there could be 200,000 people who like who don't feel that way, and they just don't have a popular, because you could make a completely racist TikTok and it would be hugely popular. But like I don't think that like most people, there's so many more people who are, it's an issue, but I don't think you can say that like, I think it gets blown out of proportion because unfortunately it will be certain types of people what like that have the most horrible, disgusting attitudes in some cases, and like they just have, they ignite the right people that causes them to be on your For You page. So like I don't, and again, like you have to remember that there's a lot of women in the intactivist movement. So like, you know, it's really just difficult for me to say.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
a feminist. I'm
that
kind of
that was not a point at any ideology. It was a point
yeah,
at hypocrisy.
yes.
Right? If you claim to be on this end of the spectrum, and you're probably among these people that claim that men need to be more emotionally available and exposed and show their feelings more, and then you're mocking them mercilessly when they do. Well,
It's
that's
there, but
that's
yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna temper that because I want to be like careful that like just not to cast women in that in the same way that like women might cast men to be like insensitive or a certain way against women. It like starts to become this like back and forth like battle of the genders that I feel like is not productive or like strictly true. I think both of them have their issues, but I've been seeing this back and forth a lot. The whole like hashtag not all men, haha, hashtag not all men, like certainly this one, and like all this kind of just it becomes very petty. So I'm like always having to talk, I feel like a lot, kind of to your point of like you cannot, it's difficult to make any comparison even when it's like general cutting to general cutting. But yeah, like nonetheless, it's like I would like to see exactly how many people ridicule men when they do things that like maybe even I've kind of seen women do. Like women will have these really nice collaborations that are all body positive. They'll be like, this is my body, like this is what my body looks like, and they'll get hyped up. Like men don't have this kind of culture.
This is my Arby's roast beef sandwich. Shout my roast beef sandwich.
I mean, gosh,
I know exactly what you mean.
There's like so many different, it's like I don't know, like I'll laugh at any joke. I'm not, I have an obscene sense of humor, but like the thing with the body positivity movement is like, keep in mind that like people do not like fat jokes, but they're fine with short jokes. I'm a short guy. There's like, I don't know if you guys have seen the guy getting angry at I think he's in a donut shop, and he gets like, he's like really short. And he's talking about this guy who's snickering at him, and like he's yelling, and he's like, I don't know, everybody thinks that's so funny, my mother included.
Yeah, I mean, being
like
short is far more immutable than being fat.
that's what it is. Like that's what I'm saying. But like again, like it's just I think the body positivity movement has a lot of hypocrisy in it. And like a lot of it, I think, is actually slanted against men. I just think, I don't know, like certainly there are horrible instances of men that like I can't even defend, and it's exhausting. Like the whole like gender debate, man. If you've seen the Gillette commercial, the one that was like almost
Oh
comical,
yes.
but like
Oh
then you read the
yes.
comments and I was just like, oh, you guys, like you make this commercial exist. You look at the comments and they take it too far. And like then I thought that Gillette commercial personally, I was just like, this is comical. The whole everybody going, boys will be boys, will be boys, will be boys, while they're like flipping burgers on a grill.
Yeah,
But no,
you know,
and
instead of boys and men flipping burgers on a grill, we need one where it's women, cackling hens sitting around a table in a coffee shop with coffee in hand, blabbering about anteater, 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 anteater.
yeah. No, there's huge hypocrisy. I do want to
No,
just
I
like
mean,
expose it, but I don't
really,
want
like this comes from somewhere, right? These ideas. I mean, in some sense, this is where the critical theorists get it right, right? These ideas come from somewhere, especially things as artificial as this. So,
it's wild, man. Like I when I start talking like this, I'm like, am I getting like I think I can almost hear other people being like, oh my gosh, the MRAs, the incels, the Proud Boys. It's like I'm literally a gay Democrat. Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm literally stuck in the leftist bubble. I describe myself as someone who's like kind of like leftist, but also like has a healthy level of shame about it. Like there's some things I just can't defend. But at the same time, I don't think that like just talking openly here, I don't think that a lot of the conversations that I'm going to be having are even going to touch like a lot of the like like ultra orthodox, like conservative side of the table. So this is just kind of like where I'm gonna be. So this is kind of like where I'm kind of where I'm speaking from. This is just my whole grassroots activism, I guess. Um and I think that the other part of it though is to say that there are, I think, some very admirable pro-life people that like I'm not going to begrudge or like I don't know, like I'm very non-vocal about that whole issue because like I think we found good ground where people who are pro-life and pro-choice believe that once a baby is born that like they have a right to their body, and I treasure that so much that like I really don't want to open that can of worms if at all possible. um like I think it's a wonderful thing. You usually don't see that happen ever. It's just like so precious. So conservatives exist there, but like I think for the most part I'm finding that a lot of my audience is just going to be with feminists and LGBT people and like a lot of leftist people. I don't know what you guys think, but
I mean,
it's like
play to the audience, I guess.
you just it's how to push against certain movements. Like you can push against feminism, but I don't want to use feminism to like rile feminists up. Like I went full circle. I went from like personally I've listened to Shoe on Head. I don't know if you guys know who she is. But I think she's funny. She's like kind of a joking secular anti-feminist type, but then like but not. She's like a female. She just like makes fun of the bad arguments, like a lot of like neckbeard atheists, people in that community do. And that's kind of like who I was for a while. But like I honestly listen to a ton of feminist poetry and thoroughly enjoy it. And like my stepsister is very feminist. I know feminist people, so and I know a lot of women who are like incredible and probably feminist, and I admire that they took on a men's rights issue and like also advocate, for general autonomy for everybody. But like You know, it's just like I've kind of gone full circle. I've gone from like laughing at like and kind of being not anti-feminist, but like very borderline, like thinking the issue is ridiculous, to like really coming back and being like, you know what? Like women do have issues, like huge issues, and like they have issues with rape allegations, and they have issues with like men are like almost sometimes I listen to men and I'm like, you know, they like almost are objectively horrible, but like in the way that some men talk to women, and like, but men are treated pretty shitty too, and how disposable sometimes, and like how women treat us. Like we should like, it's just this whole, it's a hypocrisy that needs to be exposed, and it's definitely a conversation that we need to figure out how to have without rubbing people to in rubbing the wrong way, and like, you know, really pushing people away. But I think there's a way to push against some of these hypocrisies, like exposing them. It just takes, you know what I mean? That was a long rant.
No, I think a lot of different people and different groups of people have different issues. And I think we could do a lot better job of hearing everyone out and listening to everyone's stories. I think we're not terrible at it right now, but I think we could do a better job of just making sure everyone's stories are heard and everyone feels like they're able to speak their piece, you know, and be respected when they do so. I feel like that's a little bit missing from some groups, or I don't know, maybe that sounds a little bit like what you're touching on, is some issues for some people get taken more seriously than some other issues for other people, and I don't think it should be that way. So
it's hypocrisy bugs me a lot, and it like more than it should, because there are people who don't get it at all. There are people who are like, but there's something that's particularly agitating about people who espouse really great points only to not get it, like to not apply it universally. People who are like, don't be fat phobic, you elf, you angry elf. Or like, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that, where you're just like, come on, you guys. Like, I know that there are people who make fun of literally everybody and like are awful, but like, let's just try to be better. That's why I kind of say that. I'm like, I look at these videos and stuff, and it's just like, it's just like very agitating to be there sometimes. And I think that's why I've kind of fallen into the whole like YouTube sphere personally. I don't think you guys know like all the people I'm talking about, but like I've listened to TJ Kirk, Shoe on Head. Those are pretty much like my two, and like Jacqueline Glenn, and I don't know, those are like my peeps. But
yeah, I know a lot of those people.
Yeah, it's like I think all of them are probably leftist, but like
yeah,
a lot of them make content that make fun of leftists. But it's like that's kind of what you need to do, is like you need to clean up your backyard before you can really fix anybody else's. So that's kind of like, and it's cathartic for me to like, when I don't know, it's like people are kind of, I think a lot of people they call themselves progressive, but they're not actually pushing progressive ideals. They're just towing the line and being like, you guys, homophobia is bad. It's just like, I know, I'm so over it. Like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to talk about something else. I want to like actually make a difference. And like, it's still a problem, and I'm still advocating for it, finding myself advocating for it, because there's still so much issue with like, I don't want to even get into it right now. But the point is, it's like nobody talks about intactivism. Like there are very like,
we are not I don't know, we're not in the beginning of the end of any of this. We are maybe at the end of the beginning of hashing this out and dealing with it. I just saw a thing the other day. One of the chairs of the DSM-5, right, the people who classify mental illnesses and determine how mental illnesses get treated, retweeted Earp, one of Earp's articles, with just a one-word quote tweet that said "silly." Silly. That's what the head of the DSM-5 thinks about something within the past month.
Yeah, social
something relevant on this topic. Yeah.
something about. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Silly.
The
It's
DSM
silly.
has always been pretty insane. You know, they had being homosexual was a medical diagnosis until pretty recently, until a couple decades ago. Being trans,
Electroshock
I mean,
torture
that's
of
still
homosexuals,
still
lobotomy. Yeah, the authority appeal needs to
lobotomies.
be degraded severely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like I don't know. It's just like I don't know. My main thing is it's just like it kind of just breaks my heart that like the homeless issue is so disturbing to me that it's like you have people who will like we're going off topic, I know, but like I don't know when people almost like blame gay people for like not like for being in their own dire circumstance where it's just kind of like why don't you guys hold yourselves accountable for kicking out your kids? Like, aren't you guys the deadbeats? You're the heterosexual couple that's kicking out the gay people so that there's like a huge disproportionate number of gay youth that are probably in survival sex scenarios or like some sort of horrible circumstance. Who knows how they you can't like build a good life, but at the same then you have people who just want to talk about like I don't know, like I honestly I wish I knew I mean, there's just I don't know. I'm too tired to like even talk about these issues. It's just it's gonna go into too many different directions. But I think the homeless issue like is like probably my biggest concern. I've donated to that, but honestly, everything else I've donated to has been towards intactivism. It's not a lot, but it's something. And I do feel like I want to commit myself to donating just to this charity as like Carol Baskin said that if you focus on one thing, like that's what you should do. And she's focused on cats. And I want to focus on circumcision, like ending it, you know?
Mm.
Wise words from Carol Baskin.
Yeah, yeah. There's so little work being done on this that it makes a massive difference. That's one of the reasons. And it's because there's just so little being done. It's insane that genital mutilation of children, perhaps the most severe torture that you can commit, has
It's
so few advocates against it.
it's the single worst ongoing systemic institutional human rights violation in the Western world. I don't think I have any need of hesitating in
I agree
saying
with
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you guys think that is? Is that because people aren't like the men aren't ready to understand the truth about what happened to them, or what is preventing it from taking off in the way that it could?
I think it's so everywhere.
People
It's
don't
like
empathize with men.
isn't there a quote like the fish saying like this is air or something like that? Isn't there? I'm trying to remember. I thought it was like it's like some graduation speech or whatever, but it's essentially that it's just like when or no, what is water? I don't know. If something is everywhere, you can't see it. I think that's a big part of the issue. It's so cultural that nobody can really tell how traumatized and angry and like off I think some men are that what they're holding in. Like but
I think
those are
there's
the
a
kind of
couple. I think there's a couple elements. One of them is that people just flat out do not empathize with adult men. So, which feeds back into the testimonial and
Even
epistemic
other adult
injustice
men.
problems. Yeah, we're not cute. We don't elicit the same oxytocin response. We don't give people warm, snuggly feelings when they see us. There's that. There's the fact that it's taboo, right? Like you could go literally years at a time and never have to face this in polite conversation ever. I'd like to change that. I'm working on changing that. You know, I have a lot of very confrontational ideas, namely protesting outside of schools, churches, sports
Sure.
leagues. Um,
What I wanted to do is once I didn't really launch this to any like I don't even know if it's ever gonna like happen. But when I was playing Pokemon Go, it's probably not a thing anymore. But I put a Pokemon that like I felt like best represented um the like Bloodstained Men or whatever. And I think I got one and I just got like your whole BB because I couldn't fit baby, but just like put them in a gym. So then like I feel like that's so harmless and in reaches like that whole like you know because you don't want to disturb people. That's not
oh, I
gonna
do.
do anybody.
Oh, I
I mean,
do.
yes, I understand that. I understand that too. I understand that 100%. It's just like if it's horrible to do, you can't be like, well, you can't talk about it. It's too
Yeah,
horrible to talk about. Well, goodness is
it's
don't do it.
extremely caustic, but yeah, you you
If you want
can't.
me to talk about it, then don't give me the ammo. Like,
Yeah.
you caused this picture. You caused like I 100% get that. But and yes, I get that. Like I get that unequivocally, point blank period. Um, I don't know. The Pokemon Go thing I just thought was like a way that like would reach the Pokemon Go people like first, which are probably exactly kind of where you want to be, which are like probably people who are like I don't know, like 15, 18. Like they could
Mhm.
probably get it. They could probably understand it. They could look into it and like ask their parents and stuff. So I thought that was a probably pretty good idea that like wouldn't even like what are parents gonna say? They would have nothing. It would be like a very equal
Exactly,
idea.
exactly. Playing off the kids against the parents in these situations, like when they pick up their kids at school, when they're coming out of church, when they're at the kids' sports league games. A lot of the power just comes from both parties being present and violating the taboo in the most extreme way possible.
I'm not opposed to like those kind of like very like that. I think that
It's
you see
cultural.
that
It's
and
cultural guerrilla warfare.
it's like Bloodstained Men versus Your Whole Baby. It's there's the gentle education thing, and like even when I want to set up my charity. Actually, I'm turning 30 like soon, like January 27th. I'm turning 30, and I'm probably going to set up my charity, but I don't know which one to do because I don't know. I kind of want to have a discussion. How many people are watching this, by the way, while I'm just exposing myself?
I think we just have four on the live stream, but I usually have a few dozen who watch it later.
All right.
Sometimes
Yeah,
so
I'm
it'll
just
be a
like
couple
I wanted
hundred
to talk
probably.
about this in like a closed chat, but it doesn't really have to be. Like I'm just personally not sure people who like I know I haven't really been that vocal on my own Facebook like I have in other like pages, just like where they can't see, just like talking about the subject. I'm not sure like how to reach them. And I think that's the most important thing is if you're able you need to be able to have an effect on the people immediately around you and focus on that before I think you can like expect to change everybody's minds. And like I honestly like I don't know what it is. I'm having a little bit difficult of a time. I haven't taken huge steps, but I'm also kind of wary because in a lot of ways you get one chance to make a first impression. You don't, you can't like do over. So I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Should I like set up my charity for it's like too pivotal of a thing? I wish people understood Bloodstained Men, but I think some people think like, oh my gosh, it's so extreme. You go to Your Whole Baby though, and it's just like it's
Oh,
maybe one.
I don't think BSM's radical enough. I don't think they pick their venues to be as confrontational as could be possible. The the type of stuff Your Whole Baby does. I just I don't know if that's activism because
I wanted to do.
I don't see how that actually influences the systemic nature of the issue. That's like a piecemeal begging people not to participate in it, which may help a couple people. But I mean, I have a video titled "An Intact Generation Will Not Save Us."
Wait, you have a
This
YouTube
isn't,
channel, right, Greg?
pardon?
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Hmm.
Does it,
Yeah.
no, you don't?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do. Isn't that you have the picture of the megaphone, right? As your profile
Yes.
picture? Yes,
Yeah.
you make great videos. Oh my gosh, I love that one where, what is it? I'm fine. Oh my
Oh
God,
yeah, that one's a favorite.
it is good. Yeah, man,
Hi,
I'm like,
Kapow is here.
I'm right
What up?
there.
Yep.
I'm right there with you. I just like don't. That's something I want to discuss like in more detail. And I don't want to make this whole chat about me or whatever. I'm just like, that was just a concern I have because I'm not sure how to. If I feel if I was like, oh, donate to your whole baby, I would probably get more donations because people would be like, that seems nice. Because like for people who probably I don't, and maybe I'm thinking like looking at the clock here, maybe I should be like, this is what it's going to be. If you don't know where you stand on this issue, maybe read about the issue because whether you read about it or not, that's what the charity is going to be. You know what I mean? But it's like if I just kind of sprung on them bloodstained men, I'm not sure if I would get like as many donations unless they're from Intactivists, in which case I kind of do feel like maybe that would be the route to go. I don't even know if I could do both. I've never set up a donation thing before.
There's not really any good framework for really, really good activism going on right now. The closest I can think of is what Brett Johnson is doing out in the Midwest with Cockfight.
Yes.
He is appealing directly to young people. He's done some stuff at college football games.
Seen some of that. Yeah. They like
Well,
play music. We actually have Intactivist music. I love it.
I think the goal here is to change minds, and I think for this issue, an effective way of doing that is just to educate people or to get them interested enough to educate themselves. I think there's just a lack of education surrounding the issue right now, which is why it's able to exist in the state that it does. I'm not sure exactly how to best do that. I think some kind of in your face, like the Bloodstained Man, can sometimes be effective to pique people's interest and be like, okay, what is this all about? But I think we also need to have resources like My Whole Baby that have just information for people who want to educate themselves about what it is and all this stuff.
What do you? I wonder. Do you guys have anything that makes you feel cathartic? That like, I'm just kind of curious. Like, sometimes when I look at like, have you seen like the bloodied nurse outfit? I don't know who has that kind of attire or whatever, but I think it's so cool. And like I don't know, I wondered, there's certain things like I would play Evil Within, and there was something that was like cathartic about it. Unfortunately, this is another thing that a lot of people peg men on. Oh my gosh, like this is why we have school shooters and stuff. It's because you play video games and video games cause shootings. Total BS. I don't think that's how that works at all. Personally, what? Sorry,
I think there was some echoing.
Either David or Kapow maybe had another two people join, or another person join, and Kapow and David Johnson are both here. So make sure if you have any background noise, they're muted. But
you
otherwise,
hearing any feedback
feel free
right now?
to jump in as well. Their view, like Kapow.
But I just was wondering if you guys related to any of that. Like, I don't want to be perceived as somebody who like kills small animals because I like killing zombies, or whatever, playing like The Last of Us or whatever. But there was a time where I felt like I was in a very difficult place, and I was playing The Evil Within, and that was one of the most like cathartic experiences I've ever had. Was the whole plot, without like spoiling too much, it is based a lot on facing like inner demons in a way. So it was actually very beneficial, and something about like that genre. I really like the idea of Silent Hill, which is kind of the same premise. It's like your
Silent Hill wiki.
Oh my gosh, fog posting. I can't remember the group name, but there's a really great community.
That was a perfect troll.
But yeah, like I I certainly feel like I could be creative in the way that like this topic has impacted me in kind of a traumatic way, but also like there is a way that like you just deal with it. And it is like I think something that you can make, I don't know, something else out of that might attract attention in a very like provocative way that like sends the right message. Because like unfortunately like I honestly I don't think a lot of people like relate to like that aren't affected by like I don't know, like that's why I'm asking you guys, like do you feel something when you, for example, like see something that just makes you feel cathartic, like you relate to this, like the it just feels like the trauma of your experience is being understood through like a different medium? Because for me like Evil Within was doing that. And like it's weird to say because there's also this like distant voice that's just like, that's because you're fucked up in the head. I swear. I'm sorry. But you know, just
I
like,
don't think that's unreasonable at all. I think a lot of people connect more with art, music, video games, lots of different things other than just looking at numbers and charts and facts and medical journals and things like that. So it depends. I think there's a lot of different ways to do intactivism. So I should probably introduce myself, right? Hi, I'm Kapow. I'm a visual artist and performance artist. So I've been doing intactivism out on the streets.
oh, I'm about to
Like,
run out of battery. Sorry.
oh,
I'm
okay.
listening.
Um, so I have done some performances before, like street performing, wearing blood-stained pants, and then being open to have conversation with pedestrians walking by. I have been doing less of that just because of the pandemic and also because it's cold, but that's kind of something that I've been doing. And then I'm also interested in focusing on education. So those are my two things that I'm focusing on right now. But I think Tom's going to get his setup figured out. Right. So, hi, Jordan.
Hi, Kapow. Nice to see you again. Yeah,
Yeah.
your performance art idea is very interesting to me. I've wanted to do music or juggling or some things I've considered doing, like just lay out my hat, see if I can get a few bucks.
Mm.
Be fun.
Something that's nice about it
Bringing
is when
in
you
activism is this whole
Mhm.
package.
Yeah, definitely. Something that's nice about it is that people can approach you that way, and then you don't have to. You're creating something interesting, a curiosity in them, and then they can come and find out what it's about. That's something that I like about it. Versus going up to people or saying to them directly, like, "Are you interested in learning about?"
Yeah.
This or that, or
Yeah, it's one way to find the early adopters, the people who might, not know about it, but are very like open to it, is doing something. Because if they approach you, then often they're not going to be super confrontational. I've found, at least, people who are
right.
who bring up the subject or who approach you. Versus if you just spring out on like random person, a lot of times they'll shut down.
Who are your other guests that you have here today? I've met Greg before, just in intactivist related stuff, but let's see. We have David and King Squid.
He's on YouTube, and then I don't know if I've seen him he's now on my Facebook, I guess, I think too. But he's been for a while in King Squid. I don't know, actually. King Squid is kind of new to Intactivism. I think this is my first time meeting him. So I think he's joined from YouTube, I think, as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I was meaning to come on here earlier. I got distracted doing something else, and then I looked on, and you're like been live for 2 hours. I'm like, oh crap. Whoops.
It's been a long call today.
Somebody in the
again.
somebody in the YouTube chat was asking, the Red Blue Belt wants to go to a protest in LA. Something about Cedars-Sinai. I am against going to hospitals as a place of protest. I think it's a dead end. I think they really don't give a shit about what we have to say. I think it would be better served going to a place with a really good captive audience, like a school, outside a church, the boys' sports league game. I mean, COVID has all these things suspended, but in principle, conceptually, I think this is sound. I don't know. I think the medical field is going to be forced to change from the outside. They're not going to help us along this path. So direct appeals to them are probably not going to work. Carter, my entire idea has been this sort of grassroots culture jamming, cultural guerrilla warfare strategies. Carter has another approach, which I think needs to be pursued simultaneously. I'm about mass awareness, and he's trying to start forcing this into like state assemblies, state legislatures, right? So there are people, in your state government who actually have the authority to do things about this. They are the ones constitutionally delegated with making laws on this subject. The federal ban got thrown out, and they tried to reintroduce it using the Commerce Clause, which I'm sure will get thrown out again. So yeah, the state levels were
using that too.
Yeah, none of it makes sense. It's just a load of baloney. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is going to come down to state level politics, and I think that's a lot more accessible to a lot of people. You can speak in front of them, you can lobby them directly. They're not these far out ethereal forces protected by Secret Service agents. I mean, you can sit down to lunch with these people if they're willing.
With which people? Sorry.
State legislators.
Oh,
Yeah,
and these are ultimately these are ultimately the people that have the ability to make law on this. Which is interesting. I'm interested in what's going on in North Carolina regarding the Medicaid situation there. I know that blew up in the past month that they're trying to allow it under the Medicaid program.
Yeah, that is a crazy thing. They're trying to say that genital mutilation, circumcision, is prophylaxis for HIV, and therefore it should be paid for by Medicaid, which only pays for necessary medical necessary medical procedures.
It's outrageous, and it's not just that. But if you look at the bill and the previous editions of this law that they're amending, they highlight the changes, and if you look at it, they're deleting, they're trying to delete the functions of the foreskin. They're deleting the statement that to the extent that this does happen, it should be very rare, right? Because of course this predates the prophylaxis idea. The point of the HIV prophylaxis thing is basically a free-for-all, right? To make it so that there's no restrictions whatsoever. So they can't really say rare anymore. So they're trying to strip that language out of it. It's a total mind fuck. I would encourage you to go look at the different PDF versions. I downloaded all of them, or I have the link somewhere.
So what are you saying? They're trying to delete the functions of the foreskin? They're trying to.
Yeah, there's brief mentions of it inside the existing law. And they're trying to get rid of it.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm sorry, I can't speak on that specifically as I haven't read up on it. I am aware a little bit about it, but
Anyone in North Carolina, by the way, if there's anyone in North Carolina watching this right now, please comment on this or reach out to Intaction, the organization, because they need Carolina citizens to sign a petition and do other things. Even just signing a petition would help them a lot, but they're really struggling to contact people.
or writing a letter to their
So they
writing a
really
letter
need
might help.
community organization. Absolutely. But yeah, Greg, I really like that way of grassroots sort of activating. I know yours is a very aggressive sort of approach in trying to really wake people up to this, which I appreciate.
Yes, very caustic. Although the people's perceived reactions
It
to
seems
it.
like so many people are, yeah.
Go ahead.
People are
What were you
very
gonna say?
afraid to do that, it seems to me.
I think people's inherent apprehension and sort of shock at the idea
to actually do something like that
is
Maybe it's
inherently the
numbers.
value of it, I would say. Right. So people's shock and surprise at this as being a valid idea is sort of proof positive of
Mhm.
how much potential energy is bound up in the taboo that can be weaponized if we so desire.
Right.
I mean, if you can make it into something that's more popular, maybe. Of an issue.
I mean, my first principles are basically you can't do anything about something that you're not even allowed to talk about. So step one is rip the Band-Aid off. Step two might be direct lobbying of state legislatures. You know, where it goes from there, I don't know. I think non-negotiable components are things like the ban, and I don't know. To me, I think restorative justice, like reparations for the victims. I mean, there's a big discussion of reparations going on. We've got victims that are still alive, still walking around, still being made. Right? People are being victimized on an ongoing basis.
I think I agree. Like with the first step, at least personally, like just if we can't even have a conversation about it, I think we're like trying to like get it into law and all that. That's like so far down the road. Like we need to at least get to the point. It's kind of similar with like mental health problems too, right? Like that's gotten gotten a lot more traction in the past like couple years, especially with all the lockdown stuff. Like people have trouble just talking about mental health, like, and then circumcision is just like the most extreme version that for some reason people just have a huge cognitive dissonance that I don't understand. But I think we need to just work on, and like groups like these are good. I think, and just finding ways to like bring up the conversation and getting people to just understand, I think is a really big step. But
think it would help to like I don't know, being on TikTok, that seems to be where a lot of younger Gen Z people are right now. There seems to be some sort of like formula to starting trends that like you just kind of like don't know what's going to go viral, but that would be, I think, pretty big. And then that's on that note, like it's kind of like, again, me just going back and forth with like, I really have no problem with overt protest that's just in your face. Like I personally am all for it. Like I'm never going to be like, that's horrible. Like of course not. I'm definitely of the mind like, well, if you think it's so horrible, then stop doing it. Like how can you have that thought in your head without also thinking, why am I doing this? Why, you know what I mean? But I mean,
Right.
my concern is that like I think it would be pretty easy to equate that with the sensationalism that people are already familiar with people who rally outside abortion clinics and such. I don't know. I know
Maybe.
they're different.
Maybe, and you know that may not be a bad thing. They've actually managed to get public support for abortion down since Roe versus Wade. So
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
say it didn't work.
No, I know. I engage with people who have both discussions. They'll deflect to the pro-life, pro-choice debate. They'll be like, well, what about this? And it's like,
What's
that's
inconsistent with both positions, right?
Yeah.
On the supporting abortion side, you're obsessed with choice and autonomy, and on the conservative side, you're obsessed with the value of life.
Yeah, I mean,
And most people, they're not even bringing it to, in my experience of talking to people that don't know anything about the issue at all, education seems to be what's most important because they don't even know anything at all. Like they haven't gone to the point of creating some sort of philosophy around it or, you know, autonomy argument or anything at all. They don't even know anything about what it is, barely at all.
I haven't really introduced.
Or even if they were, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, or even if they are cut or uncut themselves, like so many people don't know anything. So if you were talking about creating more of that grassroots type of building up community and taking your community and giving that community power to, or talk to legislature or taking bigger actions, you definitely have to start with just educating people about it because it's not something that people think about typically. So
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like I think that there's kind of a rare opportunity here that we've been given with the different platforms we have, like the younger audience all kind of literally, I feel like it like TikTok. I'm like so ashamed right now that I keep talking about TikTok, like please. But yeah, I feel like with COVID and stuff, a lot of people are on that media platform. It seems to be a pretty effective tool. I know that David Atkinson has some incredible education materials that I really do fully intend on like giving him more of an audience by giving him a shout out. But I just like, I think I just have 100 followers on there right now, which is not a lot. But I'm also like, I haven't made like content on a regular basis. But I think that's definitely an avenue. I didn't like formally introduce myself to everybody. My name's Tom. I'm just like, I think I'm 3 years into like intactivism. I've read a couple books. I'm not like super active on any platforms at all, but like I have made some intactivist content on TikTok. That's kind of like been a bit of a contribution. I've been like engaged in just debates for bloodstained men, like in that, you know, with anybody who's like really wanting to talk about it, you know, like I try to educate people, for people who already are having the conversation, are looking for people to talk about it, like I just bring awareness. And generally, if people are talking about like body shaming publicly, then I think that it's fair game. Like I treat those posts in the same way as if I had seen something like I'm going to rip out my cat's like nails or something. Like I don't care if I don't know you personally. Like I'm just gonna do what's right for me and put my 2 cents in, like with appreciation that you probably don't know that what you're doing is like harmful, but like I would be remiss to not say something. I know not everybody feels that way, but it's just because they don't see it in the moral way that like I now do. So like, and if those posts get taken down when they're making jokes and stuff about people's bodies, then like awesome. I'm glad um that the person felt like recognizes that you can't just post stuff like that and like expect that people are just going to be like, cool, we'll just let that stay up there. Like I think that is as extreme of a it's like it's its own kind of protest in a way or whatever, but even some people think that that's just like so outrageous, but not like it happens, and I'm glad it happens. And I think that has brought some awareness to the issue, that people are talking about it, and some people even now expect that people will come if you're talking about the topic publicly, like it's just not a controversial issue. It's a controversial issue. Stop talking about it publicly. Like you should, yeah, that's just my stance on it as far as just like engaging publicly. But of course, I don't know how you guys all feel about that. Hopefully you guys are cool with that.
Well, thank you for giving me some background. It's nice to meet you. And I enjoy talking to all sorts of people. There's so many different types of people in the movement, so that's cool. Was there any particular topics that were being discussed today? Or
I think it's been kind of free form.
More free form? Okay.
Nope. Covered certain topics, but the idea of this is only day 4 of Intact Radio, and it's been just whatever people want to. It's kind of gone all over the place, frankly.
Okay.
And I have to leave soon.
Oh, okay.
By the way, my video might cut out again because my internet is terrible. But as long as I.
Oh no.
Oh. Oh no. The host.
I'm wondering if I
is,
should.
Wait, is he still here?
Yeah, he's back.
If everyone wants to continue talking, because.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I got like, what do you guys do for
now? Have
you guys had a cathartic experience with? I'm kind of curious what Kapow has to say, because you do dance, right? Have you like, I don't know your emotional experience or relation to the topic, but is there something that's like
how am I connected to the issue?
No, like how is there any sort of something that's not information based, but is there something that is more like of a creative release or something that's allowed you to like express something that's like in you in relation to the topic?
Oh, okay. So like creative process wise, like as an artist,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what that comes from. I guess my first answer would be if you're a person that has any type of creative process, it's not going to always come naturally. So give yourself a break that way. Like, you can be like, oh, well, I should be working on this. I should be making something like some sort of masterpiece or something. But for me is just, and I've kind of been out of schedule with this, but just taking time every day to make sure that you are practicing your craft. And then when you get those like more like bigger artistic inspirations or something really moves you and you want to put it into your work, then you'll already have the work ethic there to be able to do that. So that's what I would say. Plus, like with such a heavy subject such as circumcision and male genital mutilation, or just genital mutilation, because I'm against all mutilation. But I would say, like, for me, it helps me stay balanced just to have something to do that, like you said, that is less like words, or, you know, just something like, what would you say? It's like some sort of something kind of therapeutic, I guess. But I don't think that answered your question. I think you were asking like more about how I take interactivism and I put it into the work, or you were saying, was there some sort of experience that I had that I did put into my work? Or
either or, like I'm saying like a like I'm trying to think of an example, but like
what is
like,
your
for
medium?
example,
What
like
do
I
you
watched
use?
a movie like The Platform, and it kind of was like, it kind of released something in me that like you kind of interface with it and you're like, yeah, maybe like I kind of think of like my political positions kind of like that, or like there's something about a certain movie or something that resonates with you with this topic. Like, I don't know if it hits home with you that way. I'm not sure if like, I mean, it's probably relevant if like you are cut or not cut or what have you. But like personally, it's like, I was talking earlier about how I have played like games like Evil Within or
Resident
like
Evil.
things that help me
Right.
kind of express these like kind of angry emotions, I guess, and probably a much healthier way that like is kind of like makes it make more sense to me. And I've also written a poem that I haven't like really published, but just about that kind of allowed me to kind of write down my feelings about it. So it's like that sort of thing. But so it could be a creative process that you do, or it could be a creative something that already exists, whether it's like a book, a movie, a show. I guess that's kind of what I'm asking. But I mean, like, I don't know if that exists for you.
Okay, so I would say this issue specifically for me gives me quite a bit of dissociation. Like I don't feel, if I'm like if I'm reading about it or if I'm talking about it like in a very detailed graphic sort of way, I do end up feeling kind of like I'm in a dream or not in reality or outside my body. And that, I know that has to do with they say dissociation, but it's like that specific part is called derealization, I think. And
Depersonalization, derealization.
Yeah, depersonalization as well. And so dance,
a hallmark of PTSD, actually particularly childhood sexual abuse PTSD.
Right. And dance allows me to get like all of that icky feeling like out, and allow me to get back into my body. So it doesn't necessarily always feel good at the beginning if I tap into those things during a performance, but by the end of it, it can be transformative for myself. And I hope that would read in the work, but I don't know. I'm still working on it. So
That's perfect.
Yeah. I can see David now. Hi, David.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Good.
I hardly really ever expect to get any emotional catharsis short of when I actually see the bans start being handed down and start seeing federal and state funds being allocated to restorative justice.
Sorry,
but short of that, I mean, I think good activism can be cathartic, but at the same time, I caution a lot of people, you know, don't expect don't expect the activism or other activists to replace a psychologist or psychiatrist. I mean,
I think that's very wise, and I agree with you.
yeah.
Like the
So I mean,
activism itself isn't necessarily, there's not something that's like fun about it. It's per se. I feel good knowing that I'm doing something that can help people, but
exactly. I think a
it's
lot.
the right thing to do. That I feel good about that, but yeah, I don't know how I couldn't. Like if I didn't speak about this, I think that would. Now that I know as much as I know about it, I don't know. I'm not always talking about it, but if there's a situation that I see that comes up that I can have it just like a conversation with someone like in the car or just like happens to come up somehow, I'm gonna talk about it. So yeah. But do I derive meaning out of that? I don't think I expected it.
You can get a lot out of participating in activism. I just wouldn't expect a ton out of it up front. Let me put it that way. The problem I see is that there's just a lot of really damaged people floating in the activist sphere that are probably more in need of mental help and health support.
Unfortunately, it's not something that people can be taken seriously about sometimes. I mean, if you can find a good therapist or a good person to talk to. But.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking earlier about how the chair of the DSM-5 retweeted ERP with a quote tweet just saying, "Silly."
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Silly.
That's
what the head of the DSM-5 thinks about you.
Yeah.
I definitely see what you're saying. Sometimes you see like activists, and sometimes their behavior is a little out of line just because I think they are traumatized and not necessarily handling it in the best way. Not that they aren't justified, but it's just like maybe that's not the best situation they need to be in. And like I feel like right now in the activist movement, I think the most important thing is just like getting the people who do get it, like getting the people who do understand, getting them help, getting them mental help enough, getting them trauma counseling, and getting them to the point where we're all productive in a meaningful way. I think because no one else, like you said, like no one else is really gonna do this for us. Like you go to the authorities, they don't do anything. Like we're the only ones out there like actually who understand the issue enough to actually have compassion. That's the key.
We have to get them to a place where they see us as an authority on the issue, because it's not something that they have time or they care about really to look into that way. So.
And it's hard because like we want to see that progress so bad, but it's just like I don't know, maybe it's just this slow grind we got to go through to get to that.
The authority appeal problem is a big one that has to be dealt with, which is why I think Murata's idea of looking at this from the lens of critical theory, from a position of power, influence, and privilege, dare I say, and boy, I'm not exactly the kind of person to use these terms, but his contention is that critical theory is essentially value neutral at its core, and it can be weaponized in this fight. So what do you do when all the powerful systems and institutions of the country are against you on a given topic?
I have difficulty
has to go out the window.
I have difficulty with that a little bit. I am interested in reading what Brendan has to say, but but also at the same time, like turning things into like philosophy or because that has to do with sociology in a way, and the lay person isn't ready to even like understand how to have that discussion in the first place. So I mean, I think it's an important thing. I think it's an important discussion to have and talk about how circumcision or male genital mutilation affects everything. From it's a systemic issue that affects, you know, the way we look at history, the way that we look at economics, like
Power relationships.
power relations, all of that. I think that is an important discussion to have. You know, if he has the credentials and the ability to obtain research to do that, that's great. But yeah, I'll look more into it, I guess, when he publishes his work.
Yeah.
But
Brendan did a lot of research on the book.
so
He's coming from the perspective of trying to lay a philosophical
Mhm.
groundwork, I think, with this first book.
Yeah.
Is like a tome sort of on critical theory, in the way that there are these philosophers that have this background of critical theory on which modern social justice movement is then based. And we
Mhm.
have books like How to Be Anti-Racist, which are popular.
Right.
You know, not many people read books on critical theory, but a lot of people read books on social justice, and these are actually taught in schools to freshmen in college. So it's very
Well, that's where they come
doable
from.
to start from that base, and then,
Right.
yeah, to move to the accessible sort of approach. And I think that's what Brendan plans to do after he's kind of gone with this first critical theory, the groundwork for it. So we'll see how it pans out. I'm curious to see how activists will actually receive it. You know,
I'm
that's the
curious to
question.
see it too.
Powerful.
I don't. Yeah. I've seen critical theory used in not so helpful ways before, and can be kind of reductive or whatever too sometimes. So I'm just kind of have like a healthy amount of skepticism with it, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, most of us have only ever seen critical theory applied to
Mhm.
basically disintegrate all hierarchy and legitimate authority in the country and put us near the edge of a civil war.
Mhm.
It's never really been brought to bear in
Well,
any other area. I mean, I
I've
have the
always-
same
yeah.
feelings, but
I always try to make sure that I'm coming at this less from a philosophy point of view and more from a science point of view, because critical theory doesn't really talk about, I mean, it affects the sciences, of course, and the way, like what, you know, obviously like what, and the power structures around like what studies are allowed to be done, and you know what is allowed to be done in the university and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say.
we'll have to see
My
what the
bad.
future holds.
Yeah. That's a kind of a big undertaking to do that approach, but even if I don't agree with it all, at least it's adding to the dialogue and at least keeping the issue in the public consciousness. Like it's keeping it relevant, you know.
Mhm.
So
I have a question for you that's like tangentially related, but like, how many of you guys are vegan? I'm not vegan. I'm just saying. I'll go.
I
I'm
know
not
of at
vegan.
least one or two guys that are in the movement.
I was
I'm not
for
vegan
a
at
few years,
all.
but not anymore.
I bring it up just because there are some groups of people that I feel like are more willing to understand the issue than others. And like sometimes I think I should go vegan. Like I know I should go vegan. I think I know that like not everybody agrees and stuff, but like at the same time, I think that something we could be doing is looking at different groups that we already have things in common and see how we can meet them halfway. and especially if we could move our movement and really try to integrate it where we could, or like figure out how we could with another movement, and like, you know,
Well,
I mean,
I
I think that
think
makes sense.
I think Tactivism is pretty well embedded among the vegan community, the anti-vax community, the crunchy mama community. I think we practically hold the copyright on it in those realms. I don't. I'm more concerned about getting some acceptance in mainstream political groups.
I can't answer right now. I'm on a live stream. Sorry.
Well, I mean, even still, do you think that might like help it make more like keep the topic relevant, or even like garner renewed support within these communities? Like, I think that like I mean, I can only speak for myself. I do not want to ruffle any feathers. Probably that's probably inevitable. But like another community I'd say is probably like the secular atheist community. I think have been I'm not saying that like it's kind of like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. So like, you know, I'm not saying that like all that I'm saying that atheists seem to hold some favor for intactivists. I'm not saying that intactivists are secular. Just want to make that clear. I don't want to offend anybody at all. I know that they're very different.
I think that one of the
that's good. And you know what? I pester people in Matt Dillahunty's comment sections and Aaron Ra's comment sections all the time.
I think one of the strengths that we have in our particular movement is that people are coming from a very large variety of different backgrounds, beliefs, and so that they can affect those communities on their own. But I don't think that necessarily that intactivism has to like adopt other issues. Or I think I said that in a way that doesn't sound very good.
I mean, I guess that's something for me personally to like figure out. I guess what I'm saying, I guess the general question I'd ask you is, what like do you guys feel you have in common with other groups that you could explore? Like, is it veganism? Is it like
hatred of
gender
circumcision.
equality? Is it like something that you can kind of level with other people, like your closest, you know?
I mean, the truth of the matter is most of us probably have almost nothing in common except this issue. People on this are all over the map. I mean, we've got intactivist middle-aged MAGA hat mommies, and we've got Pacific Northwest suburban liberal cutter fanatics. You know, like the opposite of what you'd expect. Almost, if you just looked at strict trends, there's almost no good predictor of.
No, I mean, like, no, sorry, I mean, not with each other, not with each of us as intactivists. I mean, individually as an intactivist, like, who do you feel like you could like speak towards as a group that you already have like things in common with?
Anyone
like,
or everyone
in different groups. I'm in more than just this group, you know.
Anybody,
I don't think
I've made a deliberate attempt to try to reach out to the conservative end of the spectrum. I thought it was sort of a pregnant possibility that hadn't been probed yet, and there's been some interesting developments there.
I've been in the Christian community quite a bit, and I try to. It kind of drives me nuts because they really should understand, especially like the anti-abortion crowd. I get what you're saying. You're like, what groups can you reach out to where you can actually at least have a conversation about it where they should understand? And that's one group that I just don't get. Like, if you're anti-abortion, how can you not be like, how can you still support circumcision and things like that? So I don't know. I don't
Nobody
know
ever
about
calls them
targeting,
out for it.
Yeah, I don't know if like targeting certain groups is the way to go. I think just anyone who can you think will empathize with you or understand is good, because like a lot of people are lukewarm on this issue too. Like maybe they'll say, yeah, I see your point, but they don't feel the need to like talk to anybody about it, or if they have a friend who's having a baby, like they're not going to say anything. So it's
I hate that.
I hate that too.
Hate these lukewarm people. It's actually a much worse problem in places like Europe, where like the prevailing status quo is like nobody really has to think about it, because nobody on the political and ethnic in-groups, or the majority, the indigenous population, even engages in it at all.
They're just like, I don't want to rustle any feathers, you know, that type of mentality.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I have screen caps of these people basically saying, yeah, oh, I'd never do it. Nobody I know does. I would never do it to my own. But
like,
we still
if
should.
You're intact, you should know even more than the circumcised person. Like,
there's a very strong element, and I'm like not the person who would cast accusations of racism, but like there's a pretty clear ethnocentric component to that, where like, oh no, we'll never do it. But those weird out groups, I don't really care about them. They don't need to be subject to universal human rights law.
Yeah. It's really hard. I think if you are connected to a group, like if you are vegan or you're Christian or conservative or whatever group that you are connected to, just naturally, maybe just try reaching out to them and see what kind of response you get. But I think like trying to target a specific group just to try to get sympathy, I don't really think that's like a good way of going about it, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a vegan,
I think with circumcision,
go ahead.
I think with circumcision, we need as many people on our side as possible, and I don't want to discriminate. I wouldn't discriminate against anyone who's on this side, because this issue just needs more attention, just no matter.
Yeah, this is going to be politically speaking. This is going to be politically very discordant. There's going to be people from all over the spectrum that are going to be on our side, and it's unavoidable. And we should embrace it. It's some real diversity going on.
That's why I think it's important as an activist to, like, if you're going to talk about other issues, maybe have a different platform to talk about those issues. Like, I have a ton of opinions about religion and diet and all that stuff, but I don't want to bring that into the circumcision debate. I don't want that to be a part of it. I think this is such a big issue on its own that if I could make a difference with this issue, I just don't really care about all that other stuff. It's not that I don't want to have conversations about it and I don't enjoy talking about it, but I don't want there to be conflict within the intact community. Like, we need to band together as much as possible to try to make change, and I think that's important.
No, I 100% agree. I've been struggling with that a lot, like as far as how open I am, just like with who I am, but I really try to separate that with like, that's not who everybody is. And like, no, I hear you. It's like, I am definitely willing and have been willing and like always struggle too, but still try to like to really try to channel my energy in just this, even when I know that there are like other issues that matter to me, and like, but nothing honestly matters to me as much as this issue. And it's so crazy that it is so like sorry, I'm like, I don't have all the words tonight, but
that's okay.
It's underrepresented. It's just like it's so disproportionate to how important it is. It's hugely important. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like it's something that people like bring up like in completely the wrong way too. They're just like, aren't there more important things? It's like, kind of no. Like, kind of not at all, actually.
No, yeah, thought terminating cliches, just thought terminating cliches. If they believe that, then why? If
yeah.
they believe that and they're a strict adherent of that, then you have to ask them what cause are they so passionate about that they believe supersedes and needs to be focused on, and why aren't they engaged in that around the clock? Because most of the people that say this are not even activists to begin with, so they can't claim moral superiority.
I'm waiting on somebody to tell me like, well, people die from this issue. It's like, well, I have news for you. Like, well, 100 people are dying, over 100 people are dying in the US every year from this issue. So nobody's paying attention to it. If it was a crib, it would be pulled off the market, but it's just unnecessary general cutting.
It kills 10 to 100 times more people than blind.
I'm gonna have to take off. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it was nice chatting with all of you. I'd be open to talking with each of you again.
Joining.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good
Take
one.
care. Take care.
Happy New Year if I don't hear from you.
Take care of yourselves.
I am going to also be logging off here soon, which means the live stream will be ending. I can move the host to someone else if you guys want to continue discussing, but I do need to leave to go to work pretty soon.
Nice. I think I'm wrapping it up too.
Yeah, it's getting kind of late anyway.
Yeah.
Tom and David, I don't know if we've met before. If you want to pursue further contact, leave a comment on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, what's your YouTube?
Gregory
Sorry, I've been a
Malchuk.
little quiet tonight.
Oh, I know you actually. I've watched your videos before.
Okay, yeah, just hit me up there if you want.
Yeah,
Who else was?
I think I have commented like a long time ago.
I have a TikTok that has some intactivist content. See, I really can't talk today. But if you're interested in that, although it's kind of everything, that you'll find some videos you can like. That's pay n attention, just like a very old. But yeah, it's a PAYN attention, ATTENTION, and you can find that on TikTok, and you'll find circumcision or anti-circumcision rather content, especially the earlier videos. But yeah, I'll probably call it a night too.
For those viewers who are watching this later, I don't know if Greg, you actually said your channel, but for those who, it's Gregory Malchuk, MALCHUCK. Just plug that.
Yeah, dude, I love your channel.
CHUK. But yeah, I haven't posted over there a lot
Sorry.
recently, but I'll
I was like watching your
more
videos
soon.
like a year ago or something. I was like watching all your videos.
Yeah, I kind of see myself as a strategy advisor of sorts. Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Important.
Are you gonna do this again tomorrow, Jordan, or when's your next?
Yes, yeah, I've been doing it every day. This one a little bit longer than I anticipated.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to figure out how to. I really want to actually have multiple hosts, so have like other people hosting it some days because I just can't. I don't have the time.
Yeah, every day is too much.
But I want it to be on here every day and possibly have like different topics or segments so people know what they're tuning into or what they're gonna see. So yeah, right now I haven't officially stated anything, but do plan on being back again tomorrow. We'll probably start doing it at a regular time at some point so that people actually know when it's going to start and yeah, have a little more planning around it. But yeah, on Facebook and YouTube, Intact Community is the Facebook group. Jordan Norell and Intact Community are the two YouTube channels. So.
All right. Well, thanks for spending
Very
your time.
cool. This is a great development. I really like this format.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining and participating. Couldn't do it without you. I was actually AFK for like the past 30 minutes. Like it's easy on my end, easier than making my own videos. So it's great.
For sure. All right.
And
Thank you so much, Jordan.
For sure. See
Yeah.
you soon, Tom.
Thanks, guys.
I'll definitely see you guys again. Have a good night.
Have a
Take
good
care.
night, everyone.
Take care.
Yeah,
Good night.
peace.
All right. Okay, have a good night.
All right. Oh, looks like there's one person still on here. But just wanted to wrap up this live stream. Say, everyone, thank you for watching. And I don't know why my video's gone. Sorry this has been so buggy today, but I'm kind of figuring it out. Oh, there it is. And my internet connection has been terrible, so apologies for that. But yeah, we'll be back again tomorrow. Hopefully we'll figure out how to do restream so that it's less buggy. We'll have better internet connection. And I think I've said everything else that needs to be said. So thanks for joining us on Intact Radio. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.